Classic League Podcast time!
Oh, I can't get the other hand, and there we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 278 of the Classic Elite Podcast. My name is Scott. I've got Dustin with me tonight. Dustin, what is going on, man?
Popping bottles again.
More? Ooh, is this Virgil? Is he back? Or we got a new craft soda?
A new sponsor, IBC Root Beer.
That's OG. That was my first exposure to high-end soda. It was IBC Root Beer. So is that...
I forget what magazine it was, but way back when, they did like root beer reviews.
Okay.
And I got so excited about it that I went out and bought root beer, but I was a kid and I bought like Food Lion brand root beer, which is a grocery store. I remember drinking a bunch of root beer and playing Gex on the PlayStation.
So when you play Gex, do you just think of like 25 cents, like shitty Faygo level Bart or root beer or whatever?
Yeah.
Sir Cattingsworth, yes, that intro is Zarek. I captured that at the end of one of his streams. He said that, and then I threw a bunch of reverb on it and added it in as an intro. So yeah, that's our good buddy Zarek. Classic Elite Podcast time. Hell yeah, man. IBC, I'm not much of a root beer guy. I told you I really don't like cream soda. But I do like Mug, and
Okay.
I do like IBC.
Mug's good. Is that Coke? Coke that makes Mug?
Oh, that I don't know. Man, I felt like it was its own thing. So I'm kind of crushed that one of the major conglomerates snuck in a new brand on me.
Maybe they started as independent, and they were so awesome.
Big corporate
Coke was
just
like,
buy them up.
We're going to buy your root beer for $1 billion. And they're like,
I
sold.
don't blame them. Ooh, so this is an interesting question now. So Sir Cattingsworth in chat says that Dr. Pepper was my first. Is that first soda? Because I don't think of Dr. Pepper as a root beer.
Huh.
But I feel like I could understand an argument for it to be root beer.
Yeah, it's like root beer adjacent.
Yeah. It feels closer to root beer than regular Coke,
Yeah, totally.
like flavor-wise. Interesting.
I guess it's like it has 23 flavors.
Their marketing,
Root beer has like 18.
that marketing campaign was good. I
remembered.
You remembered, so bravo. Yeah, man. So this is a video game podcast. We'll be talking about video game news and what we have been playing. Also, this week we are going to add a new segment about once a month. Dustin is forcing me, who is someone that does not like horror movies very much because I scare easily, and he's an aficionado, so he decided that we are going to review and do like a spoiler discussion of a horror movie in that time frame that I just mentioned. And this week, at the end of the episode, we are going to be talking about The Void, which is on Netflix right now. So if you're a Netflix subscriber, you can go watch it. It's from 2016 or 2017, so it's a new movie. And Dustin, I look forward to talking about it, man.
Yeah.
I have things to say. So, yeah. But before we do talk about video games and movies and all that fun stuff, man, how has the week been? What you been up to?
It's been pretty awesome. The summer's kind of winding down, and I actually switched schools.
Oh, okay.
So I switched from 3 schools to 1 school.
Uh-oh. The demotion. No, I'm kidding.
It's actually about the same amount of responsibility because I went from a middle school into elementary schools to a high school.
Oh, okay.
And it's a pretty big school by comparison.
Yeah.
But the best part is I have to get there 30 minutes earlier, but I get to leave 30 minutes earlier.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, and
more time in the sunlight.
I live like I'm like 5 minutes away from that school.
Oh, dude. Hell
So,
yes.
It's rad.
So your days have shortened and you get more daytime.
Yeah.
That's rad. Oh, congratulations on that, man. That's cool. Hopefully,
I'm pretty stoked.
you stick there for a while before they shift you again, because schools seem to do that. So
At least 3 years.
good, man. Boy, you really fell into the most like military adjacent job that you could have being out of the military.
Right?
You know, like, yeah, here for 3 years, and then, you know, we'll see what the commander says. I may stay, I may move, I don't know. Well, very cool, man. That's awesome. How's the little guy doing? How's Mr. Belmont coming along? Good.
He's chilling out.
Rad.
He's starting to sleep through the night.
That's awesome.
Like he did another 9 to 5.
That's amazing.
Yeah. He's
Can I start calling him Dolly Parton?
He's totes adorbs. Yeah, he's awesome.
I'm in Babyland 2 right now. My little brother Mark, who is a guest on episode 232, if you want to hear for real how cool he is. He just had his first baby on Tuesday, and she's adorable. She didn't look like an alien right out of the gate, like no purple, like she was flush and pretty right away, which I think babies are ugly. Now I'm biased, but so for me to think she was cute, you know, she must be a real cute baby. But she was born on Tuesday afternoon, so I drove down Tuesday early evening, got to meet her, got to hold her. It was really cool. I'm very proud of my brother, very proud of his wife. They're going to be awesome parents. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's cool to be a real uncle. I've got some friends and I've got some godchildren. You know, they all call me Uncle Scott, but it's cool to have like, you know, a real new family member. Cause I've been slacking in that department. So, yeah, man, it's really cool. And here's my favorite thing. So my brother growing up was obsessed with sharks. Where he made my mom record Shark Week on VHS every night. And VHSs back in 91, 92 were not cheap. Now she'd get those extended play ones that had really low quality, because that was cool. But she still, that's how obsessed he was. And my mom was like, all right, we'll invest in this, and every night we will get the VCR going and we'll record Shark Week. So we have like 92 to like 02 somewhere in my parents' basement now. Like, it's crazy. So anyways, the baby was due on, I don't know, like the 19th or whatever, which is a couple days before Shark Week. However, she was born 5 days past the due date, which put her solidly into Shark Week. So my brother's like, oh, dude, my daughter's definitely going to hold on for Shark Week. So... Hey, Pearl Plens. Hey, thanks for joining. She says, wow, no, babies are adorable. I get it. They are adorable. They're cool. But I like babies when they're not like super infants, when they're like baby, like they start to look more human, I guess, less alien. Mm-hmm. And I really like them when they're toddlers and they can start to talk with you. You can ask them questions and they can respond. That's where I'm comfortable. But it was fun. You know, you sit in your rocker, you get to hold the baby. And both her family was really excited. Ours was. So this baby is well socialized already. She's had a million people like holding her and rocking her and whatnot, which is really cool. It's been super fun. And again, my brother's awesome. He's going to be a phenomenal dad. He got some good practice. He was a foster parent, for several years as well.
Cool.
So he had, one girl who was about 4 or 5. For 2 different, like, several month stints, and then they've had some, like, more shorter term stuff. So they've got some great practice in. They're going to be awesome. So, but, yeah, also shout out to Sir Cattingsworth and Pearl Plens. Love seeing you guys. It's really nice to see people come back to the show. So I want you to know that thank you very much, especially on a Friday night. All right, well, Dustin and I have rambled enough. We both have great things to discuss this week, so I guess we'll start talking about some video game stuff. Oh, we got Mr. Zombangle. Oh, this podcast is cozy. Times 3. Well, thank you. Or Miss, I'm sorry. I said Mr. I did have a vodka drink before we started, Dustin, so if I get a little wonky, I apologize. So yeah, first up, you know, we love YouTube, so big congratulations to My Life in Gaming. This is one of the first channels that you featured on the segment that you started, our YouTube channel of the week. They have passed 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
That's awesome.
Well deserved. They deserve $1 million.
Absolutely. Yeah. They are, man, their production values are insane.
Even their streams, dude. I was watching the 100K stream last night, and I'm like, God, I'm so jealous, but also so proud. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Those Corey and Try, they don't know us, but we know. I feel like I know them because I've watched a ton of their content. Go to My Life in Gaming, and even if you don't care about the best possible video quality or what makes the best possible video quality with retro games, it's like watching the Helvetica documentary. Like,
Yeah.
it sound like, do you really want to spend an hour and a half learning about Helvetica? You watch that documentary and you're like, wow, I want to watch that again. That's how these guys are. So congratulations to Corey and Try. Dustin, so what, I guess, did you have any other thoughts of My Life in Gaming? Any series you want to recommend or anything? I guess I was a little excited.
Just how they break down video signal is incredible. Just any of their 101 videos,
Yeah.
the way that they break it down is it makes it easy to understand and digest because I've tried to research it myself. I've tried to Google stuff, and I get like 2 links down. I'm like, no, I'm done.
Or you're in a forum and people are arguing and then you don't even know it well enough to understand like what they're arguing about.
Yeah, exactly.
And with them, you can just hit backspace and pause. Like, did I get that
Yeah.
right? So, but yeah, go to My Life in Gaming on YouTube and give them another subscription so you can get them closer to 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we have next here? This is kind of an interesting article.
Okay, apparently Arcade 1UP is making 3/4 scale, 3/4 scale arcade cabinets. And the ones, I probably should have that up. I know they're making like 4 different.
Like multicades, we'll say, where they have like 4 games in them or something.
I think they're all specific. I think they're all.
No,
like
if you
that
look at
arcade
the kick plate, like the Centipede one has Missile Command and Crystal Castles and Millipede as well. But there's like a featured thing on the marquee. So it'll have like Centipede marquee at the top, but I believe it has 3 other games you can select.
Does it?
Yeah. Well, I could be wrong. But if you, I mean, I'm looking at the graphics on the front page of their website.
Because I went to the pre-order on Walmart,
Okay.
and no, I see it. You're right. Yeah. I think, man, I really wanted a Ghouls and Ghosts specific cabinet.
That would be cool. So when it says 3/4 scale, like you mean, like it's an arcade cabinet, just 3/4 the size, right? So it's like a
Right.
big piece of furniture.
Yeah, it's not something you could stand at, but you can sit at it. Like if you sat at it, your head would be flush with the top of it,
Yeah.
given the scale that's on the website. But they have Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition. They have a Capcom one, which had Ghouls and Ghosts, Final Fight, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, I agree.
They have multiplayer controls, and they're available at Walmart, GameStop, and Bed Bath & Beyond,
Of all places.
of all places. But they're available for $300. You can pre-order them now from Walmart.
Yeah. It'll be $400 after the pre-order.
I think so.
I do have one thing. It says, so they make it sound like they were authentic cabinets.
Mm-hmm.
They're not shaped the same way. They look neat. I will give them that, but part of me wants it. I want a real option. Give me a $600 full scale option.
Yeah, I'm with you. If I'm going to spend hundreds of dollars, I want the real thing.
My thought is not even that. If I'm taking up that much space already, give me the whole damn. Like that's already a corner of my room gone. Like I might as well get one where I can stand and don't need a chair.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, an emulation. It looks like each cabinet though, like the asteroids, it's going to have the rollerball mechanic. So, lunar lander is going to be correct and all of that kind of stuff. And it looks like each cabinet has the appropriate monitor ratio to it. They don't all look specifically cookie cutter because if you're not familiar with old cabinets from between the 80s and 90s, some of them were a traditional monitor, like a 4:3 ratio, but were oriented vertically, like Donkey Kong. But if you take that and go horizontally, like we're used to watching a television, then Street Fighter would work on it. And it looks like they paid attention to that detail, which seems obvious, but how many arcade emulated things have we seen? 60-in-1 games that they don't even pay any attention to that. They'll put a widescreen monitor in an arcade cabinet and you have got to stretch Donkey Kong in there. And it makes my actually glasses fall off my face in frustration. So, okay, let's say we're going to order one of these. What might be a dream cabinet for you? What would be, of course, Ghouls and Ghosts would be one that you would like in this setting. But are there other arcade games that you'd prefer, or maybe a couple other you could throw in with it?
Haunted Castle.
Okay.
The arcade Castlevania.
Oh, okay. Of course. That would fit in this cabinet too.
Yeah. Metal Slug. That's always good.
Oh, yeah. Great call. Yeah, we're going to allow Konami to be in the same spot as a Neo Geo and a Capcom cabinet.
Yeah.
I would really like I love Galaga and Gorf a lot. So give me a Galaga, Gorf, and Donkey Kong 1 and maybe Donkey Kong Jr. If I could get all those. And either a Nintendo-shaped cabinet or Midway cabinet. I love the Galaga cabinets. I also like, the Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man cabinets a lot. But I think my favorite cabinet style is the Nintendo. Just that Donkey Kong. It's got the little speaker grill down there. Nice white T molding around it. But yeah, you'd go with something that's still like an analog to the NES stuff. Right? Sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging. You're not hipster enough for me. Get off the show. Gorf's the best. Gorf might be the most underrated arcade game of all time.
I always think of, is it Dorf? The guy who would get on his knees?
Yeah, and do like the fishing videos and stuff. They'd be sold on like late night infomercials.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen one of those?
No.
Me either.
I don't think so.
But I used to watch on like Sunday mornings this like guy that would wear a Tennessee Volunteers hat fishing all the time. He'd have like a big orange hat with a big T on it. Even if you told me his name, I wouldn't be able to confirm if it was that or not.
Yeah. Was he funny? Did he fall a lot?
No. He took it very seriously.
Oh, okay.
Showed different baits and stuff. I used to watch car reviews as well on Sunday mornings. Sunday mornings were brutal on the TV here locally in Ohio. So it sounds like $300 or $400 if you like the lineup. Is this acceptable for you, or is this too few games?
I feel like it seems like kind of a bad concession. I want one full awesome cabinet or like all the arcade games.
I totally agree with that.
Just to get 4 seems like, why bother?
Now, out of what they have here, I think I would go with the Rampage cabinet because it's 3-player, has 3 joysticks, and has Rampage, Gauntlet, and Joust. So it would have the most fun when I have friends over.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm playing by myself, I'd probably go with the Centipede cabinet because I love Centipede and Millipede. But it also has Missile Command, which I love, and Crystal Castles.
Cool.
And it's got like the rollerball style. I really like those, but if I was going to get one of these, I think I'd go with Rampage, Gauntlet, and Joust. But again, I wish it was the the Gauntlet artwork, not Rampage. Just because you get like the old school, like, I don't know, barbarian kind of guy. Like, I just like the cabinet style. Although Rampage is very fun. Yeah, you can go pre-order now at the 3 places that Dustin said, Walmart, GameStop, and, you know, if you got something to do on a Saturday, maybe hit a Beth. What was the line from Old School?
I don't remember.
Will Ferrell's like, he was going to bong a beer, and he's like, I can't, I got to go to, like, blah, 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 Bed Bath & Beyond if we have time, you know, just a normal Saturday with the wife. And then he gets blacked out drunk. Like, he does one bong. One beer bong. He's like, once it hits your lips. And then he ends up like on the roof of a house or something. I don't know. Silly movie. All right, next up, Nintendo has finally had enough with the ROM site loveroms.com and loveretro.co. And according to Ars Technica, they are not even doing it. I love this headline. Nintendo to ROM sites. Forget cease and desist. We're now suing. And I can't blame them for this because my understanding, based on other podcasts I've heard, I apologize if I get some of this wrong, but you can go to these sites and play the games in browser, like from an emulator perspective, and also they were killing it in this SEO. So if you would type in like Super Mario Play Online, this would be one of the sites that would come up. And I guess they were getting like 17 million hits a month. Just like significant traffic. So, but here's what Nintendo is seeking for damages: $150,000 for infringement of each copyrighted Nintendo work. So that's per Nintendo ROM. If they had, I've never been to this site. When I tried to do this stuff, it was Cool ROMs. I don't even know if that's alive anymore. But that was the one that I liked. But so each ROM is 150 grand. That's significant, and they're not done. Each copyrighted work, and then $2 million for the infringement of each Nintendo trademark.
Man.
So now, how the trademark is broken down, I don't know if that means that it's like $2 million because they had Nintendo, $2 million because they had Super Nintendo. I don't know exactly how that works. Or if it's because you could play the game there, if it's $2 million per ROM, again, that was compatible with the in-browser ROM. Like, Nintendo is not messing around with this. But you know what? At some point, a cease and desist is what Nintendo's MO has been, which seems totally reasonable. And this is like, I think it was the Daily Tech News show I was listening to. And the producer, Roger Chang, was like, you can't like go waving the flag around. You can't be bragging about how awesome you are at infringing on copyright, basically. He's like, you got to stay under the radar. And they were way too brash with it. I mean, it's been, 20 years that you can get ROMs? Like, Windows 98 machines could run NES emulators.
Yeah.
The Dreamcast was a great emulation box.
Yeah.
I forget who the guy that ran it, but this is a person I believe based in the U.S. and Arizona. And the sites were loveroms.com and loveretro.com. I have not heard very many. I know you you see news sites here and there, and you listen to some podcasts. Have you heard anybody defending the ROM guy in this?
No.
I haven't either.
I was listening to the Retro League. They were talking about this. And they said, Hugh Johnson was like, if you're going to do this, do it in like North Korea. Don't do it in the United States. Right. Like, was this his first day on the internet? What was he doing? There
was a big episode or big week of podcasts for me. I've got Retro League after I'm done with Easy Allies, I got Retro League queued up. So I'll probably hear Hugh talking about that tomorrow. Hugh has got such we say it every time. His sense of humor is so awesome. Yeah. He's so dry, but so funny. This is his first day on the internet. Well, and part of the problem is these sites run ads on them. So it's clear that they are earning money off the backs of copyrighted material and using trademarks to also generate revenue for themselves. Now, I don't know if this was someone being tongue-in-cheek or if this was legitimate, but supposedly the guy took down and relaunched the site every day to try to get around like the hosting side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like in some way he had in his mind that if it was a brand new site every day, that it wouldn't be a full hosting, and he would claim that he had the cartridges maybe. I don't know. Either way, whew. Watch out, kids. Like,
Yeah. Nintendo went straight for the nuclear option. Like, they are not screwing around.
Again, I can't blame them. 17 million hits a month.
Yeah.
Like, how can you argue that that's not at least... There's no real... I hate when people try to argue that, a pirated version is equal to a lost sale. But it's hard to argue that this had no financial impact on Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because they are selling these games. And they're selling hardware. Like, they sell hardware to emulate these games to play on your TV.
Yeah. They're like, we're not doing virtual console, neither are you.
If we can't do it, no one can.
Shut down.
So, good luck, buddy. Hope you don't go to jail for life. But also,
Hopefully that guy's like 13.
Yes, because at least with the U.S., if you're under 17 for whatever reason, we give you a super pass.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. What do we have next? I guess speaking of the Retro League a little bit.
Ben Martin sent us a 360 photo of the Sunshine Laundromat.
We talked about that last week. I just forgot to post it.
Yeah. And it's awesome.
But the Retro League put it on their Facebook page. So it reminded me,
Okay, cool.
I need to get this on the show notes. So shout out to the Retro League for reminding us to get us there. And yeah, go to Ben Martin's Facebook and check out the Sunshine Laundromat. And look
I have bad news.
Uh-oh.
Hugh said that they're not doing the championship this year.
Oh, no. Why not? Did they give a reason why?
He said it's just too much work.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe next year they'll be remotivated.
Yeah. I was like, that's like our best content.
I was going to
Thanks
say,
a lot.
man, you're really... There's casualties of war in that one. Hey, Merrick, what's up? Good to see you. Merrick commented on my Contra video, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Cool. Welcome.
But yeah, also Ben said in some Facebook chat with us that if you have VR phone capabilities like the Samsung thing or Google Daydream or whatever, that you should be able to do a virtual reality tour of the pinball laundromat, which is very cool.
Apparently, my high school has a VR setup.
Oh, like the Rift, the Oculus. No, I meant the Vive or the Oculus.
I assume it's one of the two.
That's awesome. You gotta work at a cool school.
Yeah, the former IT guy was telling me about it.
Hell yeah!
And I was like, man, I haven't had pink eye yet.
Just
try
rub
that.
Purell in your eyes before you start. It'll be wonderful. But yeah, go to the Facebook site. I'll have it up there. You can go to Ben Martin's page to check it out. He's got a public post, so I feel comfortable posting that. Next up, this is one of my favorite stories I've heard in a while. Dustin, I've talked to you about how much I adore the game Rogue Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 5 years old now, which is crazy. I still play it every now and again. I know it's been on my show notes as what I've been playing within the last year. And they did an update. They fixed a few things. They added Cloud Save finally to Steam. Now, I have a DRM free version that I did pay for. I got it from Humble Bundle. Calm down, everybody. But they finally have Cloud Saves, which is awesome. My Cloud Save is Backblaze. That's my local offsite. That's the local client I use for offsite backup. So my game saves are with Backblaze. But so Rogue Legacy, they did some, they added some things like I had mentioned. But the funniest thing they added was, so back in June of 2014, there was a person in the Steam thread that said, "Do not buy this game if you like the mouse." Someone named Underhill was upset because they preferred to use a mouse as in a platformer. Like, I'm guessing like up, down, and stuff. That, right? Your face just said it all.
I could see like maybe jump attack, but like in-game movement?
Right? I'm with you, man. And they even commented, "Unless you love both hands on the keyboard, do not buy this game." He wrote, "You cannot bind the mouse. This is literally a couple of lines of code. The devs are," and then there's a bunch of hearts. So I don't know if he meant like, "I do love the devs despite this," or if he's like doing a Qbert, where he's like blanking out a cuss word.
Yeah,
I don't know.
must be.
But so the it said Underhill, the name of the user, apparently uninstalled the game and never played it again. So the responses, according to the Kotaku article, are less than sympathetic. An example is, "I really want you to know. I really want to know what you would like to do with the mouse in a 2D platformer game. There's really no need for playing this with the mouse." He says the mouse hook is simple. Any developer or team capable of making this game knows how to do it and should definitely have it as part of the game. So Underhill's responding. So this ended up turning into a relatively active thread. And as of recently, there are over 2,000 comments to this one thread. So the devs are clearly aware of this. And the article says that the devs originally did have mouse support in the game where you could map. I guess it's mapping. So if you want to go left and right, you could, or you want to have it jump, you could, or whatever. But they took it out the last minute because it ruined the menu navigation. And it says that at one point there were like 1,000 comments. It says that the Ryan Lee of the business manager of Cellar Door, who's the developer, he says the team didn't think much about the comment thread when it first popped up. He said, but 1,000 comments later, we were like, cool, let's let this go on forever. 2,000 comments later, we were making the anniversary patch, and we were like, what do people want? At this point, that thread sort of just became like background art to us. So we almost didn't add it, and that would have even been funnier. So he wanted to troll back with everybody like arguing about this. But ultimately, the devs put the mouse stuff in, and it says Kotaku reached out to Underhill for their take on the news to find out whether they will be trying to play the game now that it finally has mouse controls. But we did not immediately hear back. Womp womp. Indie games are the best. That's just,
yeah.
I mean, this game's phenomenal, but the fact that they're totally aware of what the community has going on about the game. Also, shame on them for being this late with cloud saves. Come on, guys.
They should really quickly patch it out before that guy gets to it. And
or like, what if it's a per user thing? Like, if they could somehow like say that he has to like use two hands on a keyboard to unlock this ability, but it's like just for him. Do you think this has got to be a reference to Donnie Darko, doesn't it? Cellar Door Games. Wasn't the weird? Wasn't Cellar Door on like the chalkboard or something? Wasn't that the vague thing of Donnie Darko?
I saw that when it was new. I haven't seen it since.
I never liked that movie, but a lot of people loved it.
It was one of those where I watched it and I was like, okay.
I was like fake intellectual, I guess. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Garden State was another one. I'm like, why do people love this so much?
Is that one with the guy from Scrubs?
Yep. Maybe Natalie Portman?
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe. And everyone said the soundtrack was so great. It had some like corny indie bands. I'm like,
that was one that solidified the mid-movie acoustic montage. I think.
Probably.
In
It
your-
had
in
to
your
have
indie
him.
movie.
Although the acoustic guitar is well used in another Natalie Portman movie called Annihilation.
Yeah.
So.
Another indie darling.
Another indie darling. God, that shouldn't have been. I just watched another Alex Garland movie called Never Let Me Go. A Japanese guy wrote the book, and Alex Garland wrote the screenplay.
Okay.
And so the movie starts, and I won't give very much away. I'll just give a very brief premise, not even like the point of the movie, because I really recommend you watch it. It made me cry at the end. Like, it was like a really good movie, but not like bawling, but the lump in the throat. Like,
Yeah.
I like buying these characters big time. But it starts off with a little bit of text that says, in 1957, there was a big advancement in medicine. And then it says, by 1967, there was the human life expectancy age was 100 years or more.
Okay.
And then the movie starts off with some kids at a boarding school in like 87 or something. And the whole movie is told from the perspective of a girl that is in like 1999 as like the modern day or whatever. Some of the cinematography reminded me almost of, remember The Secret Garden? It was like a Disney movie, had like a kid that was like crippled and couldn't get out of bed, and then by the end of the movie he's kind of running around and stuff. I think so. I love that movie. I don't know specifically why. It's probably great. Like, if I watched it today, I'd probably really like it. But it had that kind of very British, dark, like not quite sepia tone, but like darker greens, grays, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. It had Keira Knightley. And it also had the Spider-Man. What's his name? Andrew Garfield. Mm-hmm. And I thought he was great. It was a very good movie. Alex Garland, once again, is the man. I bought a book of his called The Tesseract. I'm going to read that soon.
All right.
He hasn't disappointed. But yeah, watch Never Let Me Go. It was like from 2010. It's an older movie, but holds up really well. Very, very interesting premise. I would highly recommend it. I know I didn't sell it well. I did not give away the hook of the movie at all. I'd love to. I think that might encourage more people to try it, but we shall see. So yeah, Rogue Legacy. If you've never played it, please go play it. Cellar Door Games made a wonderful game. I've played through it to completion 3 times now. It's awesome. So we got one more news item, Dustin. What do we have?
Xbox streaming device coming next generation, along with dedicated box.
Well, speak of the devil, we just got an email from Ben Martin, so we will be reading that in a little bit.
Cool. I'll open that up. But yeah, apparently next generation, Microsoft is going to be trying to do what everybody and their grandmother has been trying to do and start a video game streaming service. And they are, from what this article said, they're going to have an actual console and then a streaming box that will be cheaper, kind of a way to get in for less money.
But it's going to be relying on their new streaming technology called Scarlet or something, or maybe the whole project is called Scarlet. But it's a low latency way to stream content. And I believe the cheap box is going to handle some things that like OnLive couldn't fix. So there will be some input and collision things and I don't know. Little things. There'll be some computing power in the box. But the majority of things are going to be done over the internet. And so knowing that you can get it all done locally or you have a streaming option, what's your reaction to that?
I would put a lot of technology in it and just have a console.
But that's an option for you. They agree.
Yeah.
I feel like the first thing that made me think of is, okay, let's say you live in a real big metropolitan area, so you have good internet, but everything else is super expensive. Mm-hmm. Let's go with the streamer box. But if you live in like a small town in Ohio like me, or you live in like Nebraska or Idaho or something, and you have slow internet, then give me all the power locally. And it felt consumer friendly to me.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
I am super curious to hear about it actually working or not. Would the article say 2020?
By then we should have super internet.
We should. Hey, Ben, good to see you in chat, man. We just got your email. We just talked about Sunshine Laundromat again. But man, I don't know. Microsoft just... I love when they're behind the eight ball. When they're the underdog. They do some pretty neat stuff.
Yeah, when they have to try.
Yeah, right? And this really feels like Google had a big heads up about this, because a couple episodes ago we just talked about Google's three-pronged approach they announced to getting into the console market to competing. Oh, he said, Ben says, everything in New York City is expensive and my internet is shitty. See, that's my ignorance, right? Like, I assume that like they take care of the metropolitan areas.
I believe de Blasio. And Cuomo.
What? Rivers?
De Blasio.
What's that?
And Cuomo. Isn't that the mayor and governor?
Oh,
Governor of New York?
okay. You know, look at you being...
New York City.
Welcome to Classic Elite Civics.
Yeah.
Sorry,
You redistributed your internet to someone else.
like that lady wants to do, that young chick. Yeah, I like this idea. More options, the better. Also,
agreed.
a total side note: did you happen to see any of the articles about the packaging for that accessibility controller that they put out?
Mm-hmm.
They made the packaging so that you can open all the packaging with your mouth only, or your teeth, or like your feet only. Like, they made it super easy to even get out of the box yourself.
Cool.
I was like, what a detail that would totally be overlooked by a lot of corporations.
Yeah.
I heard Phil Spencer on Giant Bomb, one of their E3 shows, where he's like, look, we know we're not going to make a lot of money on this, but it's important to get as many people to be able to play games as possible. And the fact they didn't overlook the packaging, there's one little piece of tape that you can rip off with a tab that's easy to grab, and everything else has like handles to like pull it out and stuff. It was well done. It's going to be hard as hell to pair. That stupid tiny button on it sucks, but you know, at least they thought as far as they could with that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Bravo with them on that. So yeah, man. Any other thoughts on news this week? Anything you want to add about the streaming?
I just don't see streaming working.
Yeah, I'm real skeptical too. I will get the native box if I can.
Yeah.
Because
Maybe I'm just an old man. I don't know.
well, you know what? Internet goes out.
Yeah, it does. That's a good point. Yeah.
So if I can afford it, I will opt for as much horsepower in the local vicinity as possible. However, if I can't afford it, it's nice to know there might be a reasonable option out there for you.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of similar to Amazon. They're going to start allowing you to have like interest-free 6-month financing of PC parts. And they'll just automatically charge your Amazon credit card. However, I was listening to a podcast today called Video Game Outsiders, which I've talked about on the show before. But one of the hosts, Michelle, made a great point. She's like, look, a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck, but could afford $100 a month to pay for a graphics card, but they can't pay like $600 right now up front for a graphics card. So if they can budget their time and they use their disposable income, towards that for a few months, that gives them an option, and they're not paying interest on it.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's a really good. It's dangerous because you never know when you're going to break a leg or you're going to get a flat tire or whatnot. But, look at Amazon becoming a bank. I can't wait till, I know it's silly, but I can't wait till they have my mortgage. It'll just be rolled into my Prime. Like, it'll be awesome. It's going to happen. I'm going to get my insurance and my health insurance and my mortgage payment. I guarantee you in the next 5 years will be an Amazon product that I have. I got great credit. I've never been a bad customer for them, so we'll see. I bet they can make it worth my while. All right, man. That's it for the news this week. I missed your joke. What'd you say?
I just said old Jeff Bezos.
Oh, yeah. I'll make him even more of the richest man in the world. My tiny little mortgage. So
him and Elon Musk will be fighting over the dumbest thing to shoot into space.
Sign me up for that, man. How awesome did the late 60s sound with the space stuff?
Yeah.
How exciting would that be? Are you team... I'd rather have arguments over I'm team Musk or I'm team Bezos versus all the annoying crap we see on politics right now. Wouldn't Twitter be a better place if that's what we were arguing about?
Just Twitter polls to see like the dumbest thing to put in space.
Right?
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do this.
Come on, guys. We know they listen. That would be really fun if they had just goofy. I don't know.
Jeff Bezos is going to shoot off a clone of Elon Musk into space.
All right. Why do you go too far with great ideas, man? You got to hold them back sometimes. You have no restraint. All right. Well, that's it for the news this week. So let's talk about the YouTube channel of the week.
YouTube channel of the week. Week. Well, we are down to one.
That's it.
Well, actually, we're down
We've
to 4 now.
covered all of YouTube.
That's right. I'll just start over. It is Nightmare Expo, and he will take different videos from around YouTube and kind of dissect and not rate them. What do you call it? Like trying to almost verify whether or not they're true. What would you call that? There's a word
Fact-checking?
for it.
Or
basically
verifying?
Yeah, we'll just say verify. But he'll kind of go through them.
He's the Snopes of YouTube.
Yeah, just as reliable too. I'm sure.
Probably more reliable.
But way more entertaining. And the video that I put in the chat is unnerving YouTube channels. And this is something he did apart from the ones I was just talking about, where he just showcases different YouTube channels that are basically like really creepy art house, almost like trying to replicate the tape from The Ring.
Oh, okay.
To like...
Would like Marble Hornets be in this, or is it even different than that?
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, a Marble Hornets. There was one where I watched. It's similar, but it's not the same channel. It is a Twitter account where the sun went out, and they're trying to figure out what happened. And it's like this Twitter account is living out this,
like SON, like a sun went out to like
the sun,
the star.
SUN. Yeah.
Okay.
Like all of a sudden it's black all the time.
I'd like to read that book.
Yeah, that'd be great, right?
Stephen King, get on that.
Dean Koontz.
All right, my grandpa loves Dean Koontz. He's always told me I need to read a Dean Koontz novel. He's an avid reader.
I recommend The Taking.
Okay. I'll put that in 3. I'm going to read The Tesseract from Garland. Then I'm going to read 11/22/63, the Stephen King book. Okay. My mom bought me that. She said that I like that a lot. And then, I'll read Dean Koontz third then. That Stephen King one's like 1,100 pages though, man.
Man, I read the Tommyknockers.
How was that?
It was very long.
Okay. I don't know. I just people whose opinions that I trust relative to both music and other entertainment stuff have liked Stephen King. So I am I'm back in black. Dun dun dun. I'm gonna have that song stuck in my head now. little AC/DC. Yeah, unnerving. That sounds cool, man. You've got me in a little bit of a spooky mood. My friend Casey was telling me I need to watch The Sinners on Netflix as well.
Oh yeah, I've heard things about that.
Yeah, she
Good
said it
things
was
about it.
it was eerie. So I'm ready to watch that. So, all right, yeah, Nightmare Expo, and we're gonna recommend Unnerving YouTube channels number 3. So if you enjoy that, go watch some of the other ones. There's at least 2 others.
Mm-hmm.
Ben asks if do you guys know Bithead 1000 on YouTube? I'm not familiar.
No.
Do you know Bithead? Well, guess what, Dustin? We have another channel of the week for next week. Week.
We're doing it live.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. Unless you tell us not to recommend this channel next week, then we won't recommend them. But that's going to be next week. We'll watch them and report back. So yeah. All right, man. It's time to talk about what we have been playing in the gaming sphere recently. So what have you been up to lately?
So I played. Okay, so this comes with a story, a bit of a story, about someone who doesn't know how retro video games work. I have owned Splatterhouse, just the Hue card, for years, and I was like, I'm sorry, I was reading chat. I finally got tired of it, and I wanted a complete copy.
Okay.
So I ordered one off of eBay, and I wait for a while, and it finally gets here, and I open up the package, and I look down, and I immediately go, what an asshole, because the spine that is facing me says Keith Courage and Alpha Zones. So I pull it out and I look at it. It's a Splatterhouse book in the game in the plastic sleeve, but he put it in a Keith Courage and Alpha Zones case. Yeah, despite the fact that I went back, I was like, maybe I made a mistake. I looked at the description and it said in the original case. So I pull up eBay and I'm like, hey man, got my package. Did you mean to sit it in a Keith Courage and Alpha Zones case? He's like, oh yeah, I was looking at the Splatterhouse case, and it was a little cracked, so I just put it in that one and sent it to you, so you'd have a better case. And I'm like, may I have my Splatterhouse case? And he's like, yeah. I'll tell you what, send me that other one back, and I'll send you the Splatterhouse case. And so I'm like, okay, I will do that.
So you're gonna pay for that to go back?
Yeah, that's fine. It's like
$3.
$3 to ship it back.
Principle though
$3
the principle of it gets to me like, dude.
I wanted to say some things, but I didn't know that I could do them tactfully. And he is holding my Splatterhouse case hostage at this point.
Okay.
Well, I mean, not now.
You know what you should?
It's probably in the mail.
Okay, so don't ship it till you get the correct one back. Then can you do the original case swap like you could with the CDs and stuff, and send him the busted Keith Courage back with the Keith Courage artwork and stuff? Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, it's literally just a sticker on the back of it that says Keith Courage and Alpha Zones, and the Splatterhouse one is just a sticker that says Splatterhouse.
Oh,
but
I'm with you, man.
It's the principle of the thing.
Dude, I pre-ordered Diablo 3 from Best Buy, and they put the sticker like in a weird place where it was like, dude, you wrecked the. And it wasn't the. They put the pre-order holding sticker like all over the front of it. So if they would have left it alone, I wouldn't have had a sticker on it. And I'm like, this is gonna leave marks. Like, I feel dumb, but can I just go pick a clean one off the shelf because there's still some here? Because I thought Diablo 3 was going to be hard to get at launch. It turns out it was not hard to get. It was just hard to fucking play because the damn Air 37 was there for 2 weeks because the servers were cooked. But, yeah, I felt so embarrassed, like, telling the girl, like, can I please get the copy that's not got your freaking stickers all over it that you put there? Yeah, I'm with you. But seriously, like you said, talk about someone that doesn't understand what they are selling.
Yeah. He was like, "Are you sure it's just this thing? It says Splatterhouse." I'm like, don't put fingerprints on it and send it to me, please."
You should have just sent him a picture of your background, like your shelf, and you're like, yes, I care.
Yeah.
Well, at least he was cool about it. I haven't really ever had too many issues with eBay, other than the lady that tried to send me a bootleg Marvin Gaye vinyl that swore it wasn't bootleg. I told you about that. Did I talk about that on air?
I think so.
Yeah,
That sounds familiar.
Had like 7 tracks on it instead of 3, and they were like Beck and the Commodores. And I sent her a picture of the vinyl to show her, like, hey, look, there's clearly more than 3 tracks on here. And she's like, it looks like 3 tracks to me. And I was like, if I could reach to the internet and like flick you in the nose right now, I would do that. No, Caddy sort of likes that. No fingerprints. I expect you to use your bell choir gloves and put that in the mail.
Right. Oh goodness! But when I got my Hue card copy of Splatterhouse, I put it in to test it, and I played through like the first 5 levels.
Oh yeah,
That game is good. It's also really hard.
Splatterhouse was always a game that like felt too R-rated, so I always lusted after it. I always wondered on the Genesis. Like, so, was it 2 and 3 that are on the Genesis?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought it was the arcade. I don't remember the cabinet or anything. I just remember it playing at an arcade, thinking like, "Wow, that's just so cool." Smacking demons against the wall or whatever. It was so sweet.
4x4. The Jennifer fight. You fight your girlfriend as a boss,
The whole
and that fight is hard.
Is it?
It's so hard that the stage select will send you to that fight. Like you put in, you press start, and as you see the mansion, you hit select 3 times, hold down and left, and hit any button to confirm, I think.
Okay.
And if you go, you have like 1 through 8 to select for the stages, but if you select 0, 0, it sends you to the fight.
Because it knows, like, look, you're just going to want to practice this.
Yeah, it's like this incredible difficulty spike.
That's cool. So, how many? I thought you already had Splatterhouse for TurboGrafx or PC Engine or whatever.
I do, like twice over. I own the Hue card, just the Hue card. I wanted the complete copy.
Oh, that's right. You want to complete. So, are you going to take another Hue card and put it back on eBay and try to get a couple bucks, or are you just going to keep them both?
I'll probably try to offset the price of the complete copy, which I actually got for pretty cheap.
Cool.
By selling the Hue card.
Oh, nice. Good deal.
That was kind of the way that I made it make sense in my mind to spend money on a game that I already owned. It's like, well, all I'm really doing is buying the case and the manual, and then I can sell the other one and make money from that. But then I didn't get the case. Keith Courage.
That's like an insulting one to get to.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like
cool,
Bonk
like
or something.
Axe.
Yeah.
Keith Courage.
So what else you been playing, man?
I played some A Boy and His Blob because
NES or the re-release? For
the
Wii?
re-release on the Wii.
Cool.
A Wii make, if you will.
That's insensitive, Dustin.
But yeah, I was going through my collection, and I was like, yeah, because I was entertaining the idea of doing another 31 games of Halloween.
Yeah.
And I was like, do I even own enough games to do 31 more games that are horror related? And I was like, yeah, I got that many.
Spoilers.
Plus that many.
Whoa.
Which is on the back.
So you got 2018 and 2019 covered.
Yeah, I got a few horror games. Or even horror related games. So I was looking at A Boy and His Blob because it makes you feel like you're out trick-or-treating.
Oh, okay.
Like you're out late at night and you kind of feel like you're doing something wrong. Like you feel like you're kind of doing something naughty, and it's like before you like start thinking about girls and partying,
Yeah.
kind of like that 12, 13 age,
Oh yeah.
where just being outside at night without your parents just feels cool.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like.
That's cool. I guess I never thought of it like that, or had considered it even would think like that, or make me feel like that. I remember I'm pretty sure it was Kevin back when he did the Paranerds.
Mhm.
Really liked the Wii version.
Yeah, it's great.
It was less obscure, I guess.
But it was made by WayForward. That's why it looks so awesome.
Okay, that makes all right.
And it's just really cool, like puzzle platforming.
Lots of cutscenes, then I'm guessing. I can't help but make that joke. I'm sorry. DuckTales really scarred me.
But yeah, it's a really cool puzzle platformer for the Wii. Yeah, I recommend playing it. Like, I like playing it with the Pro controller.
Okay, I was going to ask what the control options were.
You can also use the nunchuck combination.
Okay, so but they're not asking you to like navigate a cursor on the screen at all.
So far, I've had 0 motion controls.
Awesome, cool,
It's all button presses.
good, good. Is that inexpensive?
That's a good question. I don't remember it being like super expensive when I catalog my collection.
Oh, that's right. When you had like $48,000 of retro games.
And I've actually traded in a lot of that, so it's not even accurate anymore. I'd have to like start all the way over.
It'll be another project.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. You been playing anything else?
No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
Firehouse is great. A Boy and His Blob is great.
You've been playing good stuff then.
Yeah.
One thing. I tried to bring up. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show. I'm glad I mentioned it here. I did want to say that I helped my buddy brew beer, like properly for the first time. I guess 5 or 6 weeks ago now. It turned out unbelievably good. He's made plenty of beer in the past, but have you ever had home brewed beer before?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of tastes a little homemade. Not bad,
Yeah.
but like this tasted. He bought like a new fermenter. Like it looks like the big like stainless steel kind, but only 5 gallon.
Cool.
It honestly tasted like it came from a brewery. Now, I didn't add anything to the process other than like, hey, can you hold this for me? Or, there was no expertise that I offered, but beginner's luck I will go in with. And it was like my buddy's been doing it for so long. There's a company called Alaska Brewery, and they had like this New England style or like a session style IPA. And I don't really usually care for IPAs, but he likes them. And he was able to go to their website, look at the ingredients list, and based on the style, knew what he needed to do to perform that beer correctly. He still says he could get it better. It was amazing. We filled up like 4 growlers, like 4 64-ounce jugs. And I had buddies over 2 Fridays ago. We played yard games. Played music way too loud for way too long. I'm sure my neighbors were fucking pissed. But none of us, like I could easily, my rule for a beer is if I can drink 6 of them, I like it. Like I can have one and be like, all right, I appreciate this, but it's not my thing. But it was like an absolutely awesome beer. I was shocked. So in 2 weeks, I'm going to help him again make a beer he's making for his girlfriend. So I'm excited to try brewing beer again.
Yeah.
Like he has this really sophisticated equipment. Like there's this measuring device at one point before you take it from, like when you're done making the wort and stuff, before you put it into the fermenter, you test something kind of like a pH level, but it's not. But you drop it on like a slide, like a microscope, but you need it in the sunlight so you can look at the levels. Like, I was like, damn, dude. And he also bought it. The PC nerd in me loved this because in the fermenter, he has it hooked up to a water rig that goes into a cooler, and it's a temperature regulator. So it always keeps it like like the precise temperature that it's supposed to be the entire time it's fermenting, like you're able to do in a brew house, which I think really added to it. And then a lot of homebrew beers, like when people bottle them themselves, you get little like remnants and crud at the bottom, so you don't pour the whole bottle out or whatever.
Yeah.
But he kegs it straight from the fermenter because he carbonates it from there. So, I mean, it pours just like it's a professionally done keg. I'm like, damn, Eric, this is super fun. It was delicious. So, Pearl Cleanse gives me credit. She said it was my touch that made the beer taste great. Well, good. Then his girlfriend is going to have a phenomenal birthday present.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it going to be like pumpkin flavored?
No, but it is like a spiced golden ale, not quite like a horchata. So kind of like not like a Christmas ale, but getting closer to that.
Okay.
I don't usually like pumpkin spice stuff, but I do like some pumpkin beers that I've had. Oh, this is one of my favorite memes I've ever seen online. IPAs are the white men's spice pumpkin lattes. I said that to all my buddies, and they're like, dude, quit talking shit. And I'm like, well, it's really true. It's funny because it's true.
Yeah.
So I guess what I've been playing outside of making amazing beer, I downloaded the DLC for Sonic Mania, the Sonic Mania Plus. It's $5, and it's interesting. It has like a Knuckles type of character. It's got 2 new characters that I don't know the names of. One of them's black with like slicked back red hair, and one of them's like golden, kind of almost like Tails looking thing. And they changed mechanics. Like you can like kind of float around with one of them. Not like Knuckles, but kind of like Knuckles. And another one you can like down stomp, like you like butt stomp with Mario.
Cool. Are they
Hi, Codebreak.
chaotic?
Thanks for joining.
Chaotix guys?
I don't know. Possibly. My Sonic lore knowledge is abysmal.
Well, you got to go fast. There's that.
Yeah.
There's rings.
So here's what's interesting. You can change between the characters on the fly. You still go fast. You still do all that stuff. But you know how there's those little boxes that you find in the world that can have like 10 rings or a shield or fast speed or whatever? The rings have the different characters in them. So you start off and you're like the black guy with Sonic. And then I unlock the golden guy later. And you can press Y or X or whatever and flip between the flip between each of the characters. So there are certain levels where it's clear that if you down punch, you'll go to like a lower part of the level. So you can explore more. It's kind of like they added more to the original levels. I don't think there's any more new levels. It's just, a different way to play them.
Yeah.
It's fun to go back to Sonic Mania. I'm happy to give them $5 more. And it seems really cool.
And there's a physical release now, right?
Yes. Yep. And that's the Sonic Mania Plus is the physical copy. Hey, Codebreak says, just found you guys because I'm trying to beat Contra for my channel. Well, Codebreak, I have lots of videos on Contra. So everyone go check out Codebreak on YouTube, Codebreak. He says, oh, thank you. He says, your videos are awesome, but I'm trying to take down the whole series. Hardcore Uprising and Shatter Soldier. Those are really tough, man. Good luck. Unfortunately, NES Contra is the easiest of them, the original. It is.
Huh. Cool.
I find Super C to be harder. Like Alien Wars is awesome. Hardcore is awesome. It's premium content, but one of my favorite online things are the Giant Bomb, Vinny and Dan. They do co-op, and they got all the way through Contra Hardcore.
Man.
And co-op. It was a very, very fun series. He says, so just wondering how I should take this game. Contra it's super fun, amazing music. Just learn the rhythm of the level. You start to learn where there's random enemies, and you start to learn where there are... And I'm actually going to talk about Contra here in a second. So I guess we'll do it now. So when it comes to Contra on the NES, there are a lot of enemies that have the exact same placement, so you're used to where they'll be. And then there are certain types of enemies that are just always going to randomly spawn. So you just start to get a feel for, okay, I know a guy like behind the shield gun that's shooting the big red bullets. You know where they're going to be. And you know in those areas, randomly the backpack guys can start like coming in. So you just start to get a sense of where are some relatively safe zones in the stage and which aren't. He says Alien Wars is the only one he beat. Dude, if you beat Alien Wars, you will get through the rest of them. Alien Wars is phenomenal, but I find that game really difficult. It's cool because I believe just like hardcore, you have different character options in Alien Wars, don't you?
I think so.
Whereas the NES ones, you just have red or blue.
Yeah.
Like Lance and James or something, or
Bill and
Lance, maybe? I don't know.
Bill.
I should know
Bill
that.
Lambier.
Bill Lambier. Go Irish. Yeah, he played. Yeah, so I streamed Contra last Monday, I guess, or sometime last week, because I just hadn't streamed in a while. So I was in the mood to do that. Konami, you're welcome. I just gave you 20 cents. So there you go. But just like you, Dustin, where you tried to on stream beat Castlevania without dying. Dude, yeah. I finally made it all the way to the end, and I died with a poor jump.
Oh, man.
Like, I was on level 8. I was gonna do it. I was 2 hours into the stream. And then I played most of it with the Japanese cart, because why not? And I don't think there's any difference. I just think that I got a better, RNG run. And it was the US and NTSC cart that I ended up almost beating it on. I still adore Contra. I love that game. Benjamin says, is Contra Force considered outside of the series? No, it's like a black sheep of the series because it plays differently. But I wouldn't say outside of the series. Mechanically, yes. But it's further outside than maybe Zelda 2 is relative to the other Zeldas. But it's still a Contra game, I guess. I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's mechanically, yes, but I think the spirit is the same.
Yeah, there you go. Code Break says, guys, I'm 33. I'm 35, dude. I'm right there with you. And I didn't beat Contra without dying for the first time until I was about 33. I think I was 33 when I beat it the first time without dying. The first time I beat it without the code, I was in college. It was my freshman year. It's the first thing I ever bought off the internet. I bought it from half.com, which was part of eBay then. And I paid $10, and it was shipped to my dorm room.
Sweet.
And I played it every day, and I finally did it. He says, gotcha, I still have the NES. Ooh, Contra Force is an uncommon cart. That thing's worth some coin. He says, I have the NES cart from back in the day. Was the only one I owned. I've never played that one, other than firing up in an emulator a little bit. Maybe I should try to figure that out and do some streams with it.
I was probably 25 or 26 when I first beat Castlevania.
Okay.
But I was like 30. I think I was 36. Like, it was a few months ago when I beat it without dying.
So I'm glad that this is. I don't know how you guys beat some of or how we crushed some of those old games. It's just brute force. I've said the same thing, Code Break, to Dustin. Like, dude, I don't know how you beat Ninja Gaiden. Like, you make it look so easy. I don't know how you beat Castlevania. And you're like, dude,
I've been meaning to tell you for like 3 months. Congratulations on the no holy water Frankenstein victory. You streamed Castlevania.
Yeah.
That day.
And I
think it was the day that
it was when Simon was born. Yeah, I did a Castlevania stream in honor of you.
And you beat Frankenstein without holy water. It was whip only, right? I think maybe you used the dagger.
I got a bad item drop. Yeah, and beat Frankenstein without. Yeah, I was very proud of that. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, man, I've been meaning to tell you that for months at this point.
No, you're not bad, Code Break. If you can beat if you can beat Contra 3 Alien Wars on Super Nintendo, you're not bad. Trust me.
No, yeah, that's good. That's good stuff.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you saw that, man. I was very proud at that moment of doing that. I'm like, dude, yeah, I thought I was screwed. Castlevania's great. You're the one that got. I never would have played Castlevania if it wasn't for meeting you. Thank you, Retro League forums.
Yeah, right.
Because it's like right up my alley. Like it's my kind of game. But me being a wimp with horror, just kind of stayed away from Castlevania. It never appealed to me.
You should get the Konami YY World games where you can play as like Simon or the guy from Contra.
Are those
Like
like ROM hacks?
No, they're for real games.
Oh,
They're,
really?
Famicom games. They're right there. You can see.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I'll look on eBay, man.
the first one's okay. You go too far to the right when you walk.
Yeah.
Which is a
Okay.
bummer. But the second one is really good.
Okay. Codebreak says Symphony of the Night, guys. Yeah, that's Dustin's favorite.
Oh, this game is so good. The game is so good.
Codebreak, if you're a YouTube guy, go and check out. I'm blanking on him. Super in depth, room by room of Symphony of the Night.
Ooh.
I keep wanting to say Legend
We're
of
both
Neil,
blanking
but
on
that's a. It'll come to us.
Yeah.
Symphony of the Night. It's like a deep look of. Oh, Zarek, where are you? We need you. Also, Alex is joining us. What's up, Alex? Good to see you, man.
Learned?
John learned? No.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's John Learned.
I wanted to say John dies at the end because of that book. Oh, he's an FAQ
movie,
writer.
that's not bad.
Cool. I've heard the book's really good. All my friends that read the book were very disappointed in the movie. Yeah, it might be John Learned, Symphony of the Night. Can you Google that while we're fumbling around?
Yes, confirmed.
Okay.
John Learned, Symphony of the Night.
So, Codebreak, this guy, John Learned, does a really in-depth, nearly room-by-room breakdown of all the Easter eggs and all the tips for each room in Symphony of the Night. So if you, as a FAQ writer, or you say you used to be, I think you'll really appreciate the level of detail in that entire series. It's really fun to watch. So, yeah. Highly recommend that stuff. So, Dustin, before we get to our new segment of, it's in the chat there for you, Codebreak.
Yeah,
So, before we get to our spoiler section about The Void, let's do listener feedback, because that way we can just be, like, wide open, like, total spoilers and whatnot, and that way people don't miss any of the feedback that we've gotten. So, first up, do you want to get to email from our friend Ben in New York?
let's see here. He shared with us. Gmail's hard to read. Half screen. Hey, gents. I just came across and uploaded a photo of the screen used in Mrs. Doubtfire, worn by Robin Williams.
Let's see here. Oh, that is crazy. The
Why
Mrs.
was there a Home
Doubtfire
Improvement,
mask.
but never a Mrs. Doubtfire SNES game? I play that.
I would definitely play a. There also should have been a Pee-wee's Big Adventure NES game.
Oh yeah.
You know, like Large Marge, the Paul Bunyan, the dinosaur,
Mm-hmm.
the bike, Francis.
More would have made an awesome SNES game. Fruitopia. No, not Fruitopia. That's a drink. Zootopia. That the bunny and the fox are trying to track down.
That's like a modern movie, isn't it?
Yeah, they should have made that into a Super
Oh, okay.
Like I would play the hell out of that game.
Yeah,
There'd be
absolutely.
like a jungle level, an ice level, a city level. Like,
Dude, I'm sorry. This mask is distractingly eerie.
all right.
Like, may I have your? No, we are. I'm in Ohio, Codebreak, and Dustin's in Tennessee.
Howdy.
Ben, do you mind if we maybe use this as cover art for the podcast this week? I know you've let us use it in the past, so if I have your permission, I would love to do that. Also, I need to log into Facebook so I can follow you on Instagram. So, yeah, that's wild, man.
Ken.
And we got Ken joining. Thank you for coming by again, one of our good buddies. So, yeah, man, Mrs. Doubtfire. You know, I don't think that movie holds up that great, but I adored it when I was a kid.
It was the drive-by fruiting.
Robin Williams was so good in that movie. It was the first time I learned what a hot flash was. When he's like, "I'm first day as a woman, I'm getting hot flashes,"
Yeah.
and he's trying to stomp out his like breasts on fire. Yeah, drive-by fruiting. That's another good one. Hey, Pearl Plans is with you, man. I would love a Zootopia
Right?
game.
Oh, man. That game would be great. That's what I would do if I was an indie designer. I would make movie games in 16-bit form.
The Tiny Toon games were great Mario 3 clones.
Mm-hmm.
I was more partial to the NES version versus the Super Nintendo one, but the Super Nintendo one's also very fun. So yeah, Ben, thanks for sending that in, man. And follow Ben on Instagram. It is BP Martin, like the bad oil company. Just kidding, Ben. Dude, when I was in Destin, Florida, like maybe 6 or 7 months after the BP oil spill happened, you could still see little oil pebbles like in the sand in the beach. And they had all these like tourist t-shirts that had ducks soaked in oil that said "Thanks BP." Like they really leaned into it. It's funny to laugh at now because I got it all cleaned up, but like that was wild at the time. So yeah, our good buddy Demez. Also, shout out to Divix. He watched 2 episodes ago. He watched A Quiet Place since we had talked about it on the podcast, and he said it was a good movie. He says also that he watched A Cabin in the Woods. He says this one is ridiculous though. I can't wait to watch A Cabin in the Woods. We're definitely going to have to do that. Pearlplen says I like the Lego movie games. I played Lego City Undercover, but I haven't played the movie games. Have you played any of the movies?
I've played the Hobbit game.
Okay, I downloaded the demo of the Hobbit. I played the very first like 15 minutes of that on 3DS. I liked Lego City Undercover. I beat it. The only problem with it was the loading times were absurd for the Wii U. But it was but I like the Lego. Just Lego in general. I generally like everything that brand does. I love the Lego Movie. Have you watched any of those like 20-minute Lego Movie shorts on Netflix? There's like a Jurassic Park one that's really funny. They're great.
did, actually.
Yeah.
I played that for Solly. It was really fun.
Cool. And Sir Cattingsworth 2 episodes ago said great podcast. So thanks, man. Appreciate you joining the chat. He's been here the last couple of weeks, so it's been awesome. All right, I'll go ahead and read. Let's see. So we got 2 episodes worth of stuff from Demez. Yeah. Do you want to read 276 and I'll read 277?
So Total Recall is the 276?
Total Recall. Yeah, let's have a Total Recall.
All right. So Demet says, and I'll go top to bottom.
Okay.
Battletoad NES sucks. There, I said it. Fact. We all played it. Starts real fun and good, but then 15, 20 minutes later, we are all at game over, and we don't see the rest of the game. They tickle our ass with a feather, make us think it is a beat-em-up, better than Double Dragon at first. But 20 minutes of game, then impossible speed bike stage, does not a good game make. What a waste. It could have been really fun. Today with cheats, level skip, and Game Genie, it might be a good time. But isn't that funny? We would never level skip and Game Genie to get through it. Game Genie won't... I may have cut off. Is there more
won't help getting through the bikes.
Oh, okay. Game Genie won't help getting through the bikes. Well... saying dumb inflammatory things is my job on this podcast. All right,
it's true. You do more of that than I do.
He goes on to say, Dustin, the Atari game with the 4 castles and paddles is Warlords. That's it. I'm looking for that for my Atari 2600 to complete the collection. Nice. I only collect paddle games and only the ones I want. I have Kaboom, Circus Atari, and Super Breakout.
Great criteria, by the way, for an Atari collection.
Yes.
Games I want first and foremost, but then also to have paddles fun. Like that works really well.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I'll skip a little. I just got 20XX on Switch. Finally playing it. Never really played on Steam. Loving it on Switch.
I didn't know that came out for
procedurally generated.
Yeah, it's the Mega Man roguelike that Zarek and I played a couple times.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm glad he likes it too. It's
He
very good,
says-
actually. Highly recommend getting it on Switch or Steam. 20XX. Yeah, it is really good. It's more Mega Man X style, but it's phenomenal.
Cool.
It,
If it's on Switch, I'll pick it up.
I think you'd really like it because
Yeah.
the fun thing about it is it doesn't do it quite like Rogue Legacy, but there's still some progression that you can get. Some sense of progression, like run to run. And it doesn't take you long to get into a run before you start feeling real powerful again. It's not a slog to get back to really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He said, I just found GameSock about GameSock. that's our parody account.
Of them, they would love that. We do it as sock puppets.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Do impersonations of their voice. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Write Nintendo on one with a Sharpie.
You're right. Yep. I had the same thought.
Damn, we should.
We should absolutely do that. Then we could
Yeah.
we could make friends.
That'd be great. I just found Game Sack about 1 month ago. I've been binging their show every day.
Oh, yeah.
So much content now. They are so mellow and chill. I wish I could go over and play retro games with them. So such awesome, friendly personalities.
Yep. Absolutely.
Game Sack is awesome.
I believe we feature them on our YouTube channel of the week. So Demez, you got to pay more attention to our YouTube channel of the week. Week.
And he finally finishes with shots fired. He says, back at you, Dustin, on the Turbo Duo situation. The internet says the Turbo Duo is bad for its caps and failures, but the PC Engine Duo and Duo R are more reliable. The internet says so. It must be true.
He was, man. He was sassy.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Well, they're made in Japan, and the Japanese capacitors can't handle all the freedom that happens over here, so they wear out.
They can't. The ones made today can,
Right.
but they were still in transition back then.
There were,
Well, they probably buy South Korean transistors now, which is why they're really good.
yeah. They're all, they're especially good at Warcraft.
We can make political jokes. Yeah. All right.
Or StarCraft. Damn it.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. Your Warcraft. Oh no, that too. But yeah, StarCraft was there. That's one that's their jam. That's their That's their football.
StarCraft jam.
And then Dumbass last episode says, I just watched a video about My Life in Gaming, the PS2 episode. Everybody go check that out. He says, check it out. I learned basically PS2 will look like total crap, mostly on modern TVs. It's got to be a CRT to look good pretty much, due to the way that they render games on the PS2. Yeah, it's, again, like we said earlier about My Life in Gaming, even if you don't care about that stuff, it's fascinating the way they explain it. They present it so well.
Yeah.
He said, I moved my PS2 to my CRTV and retro station after seeing it, and my PS2 did look like bad crap on my LCD TV, even with component cables. Luckily, my CRT TV takes component cables, and it looks super sexy on all my systems. Like, that's awesome. I would love a CRT that has component. Someday I will get a PVM. One of those Sony professional broadcast monitors.
Yeah.
Like, I lust after that. Like, I just straight up do. Dumbass also says, I liked Ys 3 when I first rented it on the SNES, but that doesn't count. The bar is set for what I liked as a rental as way low. He said, I rented one game like AVGN says, and that was what I'd play all weekend, so I better play the shit out of it, and I better like it. It would have to be really super bad, like Koei RPGs on the SNES, to not suffer through them. I'm glad that you laughed. I don't get that. I'm assuming Koei RPGs are terrible. Is that like the LJN of RPGs?
Yeah. Except cheap. Like, LJN was cheap in design, but could look okay. Koei was cheap in, like, looks, but functioned.
Oh,
so
okay.
It was just a chore to look at. They were a chore to look at, and like.
Okay, so if Hide Light wasn't garbage, like Hide Light looks terrible, but also plays bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to join the conversation that I know nothing about. He says Ys 3 controls like ass. The scrolling is not smooth when he moves, like you had said, Dustin. He says the hit detection is crap. You kind of got to walk into creatures with short weapons, barely having any range. Of course, I played the Turbo Duo version, and it happens to also be on the Wii Virtual Console. He says Solo was awesome. The movie Solo, I liked it a lot. The character motivations made sense. Thank you. Now I will actually give it a shot. He says the character development, the twists and the turns, good times. People expect too much from far too much from movies these days. That might be a fair statement. He says this movie I saw, No Man's Bi, seemed like it would be perfect, but they were liars. All the dudes in it were bi. I don't get the joke, but I figured I'd read it anyways in case our listeners get it. Is it No Man's Sky reference? So we were talking about No Man's Sky last week. I don't know. He hasn't made a sexually related joke in a while, so they just go over my head when I see him. You know what I mean?
Same.
Or has he, and we just haven't even noticed?
They usually involve the words veiny penis.
Yes, so it's usually quite apparent. He says I have a PC Engine TurboTap. Don't know what they called it. But I guess he didn't know what they called it, but now he does. The more you know. Yep. Hey Scott, you were missing the Stardew Valley with Animal Crossing. Stardew Valley is Harvest Moon. I apologize. I feel like I have heard Animal Crossing as a reference, but Harvest Moon is definitely what I should have been saying. He says perhaps in the same family of games, but those two are just farming, and Animal Crossing is collecting trash for no reason. He says, but Animal Crossing is collecting trash for no reason game. Like I like these. Like how you're like, isn't that the one where you have a mortgage? And then also he goes, before you praise the fools at No Man's Sky for patching and updating, keep in mind that there's a very good chance that they were contractually obligated to make these patches with Sony's contract, and possibly so based on performance. It did so well at launch. He says if there was a required number of copies sold, they'd be forced to keep patching it. They certainly would have hit it. So,
how did he spell contractually obligated correct?
Considering how he, like, I don't know, but he got that one.
Well, he go to this.
Yeah, right? Blind squirrels find nuts every once in a while. Yeah, that's a fair point that maybe there was some sort of a contractual reason. But even that being said, this next patch, like I watched the Game Informer video on it, this doesn't feel bare minimum. You can get in third-person mode. All the multiplayer that people thought was going to be there seems to be there. I understand his skepticism, though. I really do. I'm still going to stay on the positive side of it as an optimist, hoping that they just wanted to make it right. But he's right. They may have had the Sony strong arm into making it right. And then finally, he does say, I need to try this Virtual Boy emulator with my Oculus. I'll report back. I've been wanting to play that Wario game. Hope he doesn't call me out for being like, dude, Wario sucked. What are you talking about? But my buddy's got one. My buddy Keaton that has the arcade cabinets. And I played it on his Virtual Boy. And it felt just like Super Mario 2 6 Golden Coins. So
cool.
So we will see. All right, everyone. Well, that's going to be it for the show at this point, for the normal show. So It's time for our new segment. And Dustin, why don't you tell everybody what we're going to be doing?
All right. So before you leave, Boosh. There you go. You may go on your way.
Oh, we're still going to do a proper Boosh because I haven't done social media and stuff.
Right. I just don't want the people leaving now to miss out on the Boosh.
That's fair because, if we have an OCD person, they're like, I don't want Void spoiled for us, but I haven't heard Boosh.
Yeah, then they got to skip through until they don't hear us talking about the Void. Yeah. So Boosh it up. Okay, so this is the horror section. So we are going to, like, once a month-ish, review a horror movie. And I am well-versed in horror movies. Scott is not. He is not a fan of horror movies, for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part.
And I'm just going to try and make his life as miserable as possible.
Well, you did a good job starting. That's my first comment. The Void was a hell of a way to start this, man. In my eyes, it was. So, how do you want to start the conversation? Do you want to give like a synopsis of what was going on, or do we just want to talk about it? Because you've got notes, I don't. So I'm going to just kind of let you lead this.
So I figured we could go point by point.
Okay.
And just if it's like running long, we can kind of skip and move forward.
Okay.
But I will. Okay, so void spoilers from now on. Goom. Spoiler alert. Boom. It's happening.
Or
It's in
Goom.
place.
Gory Boom.
But I'll read the synopsis from IMDb. It says, shortly after delivering a patient to an understaffed hospital, a police officer experiences strange and violent occurrences seemingly linked to a group of mysterious hooded figures. And my synopsis is, if you mixed Silent Hill and The Thing together, you would get The Void.
Okay. I've not played Silent Hill. I have not seen The Thing. So you gotta be right.
Yeah.
You just put it on the internet.
That's right. We have to watch The Thing then.
Absolutely. I was gonna recommend that or request that to be on the list.
That's one of my favorite horror movies, period. Like, it is excellent. Excellent movie. So the Void starts out in it's basically like a crack den.
Yeah, like an old farmhouse. Like not like
Yeah.
inner city, like out in the sticks.
It's like a Toronto version of crack den.
Okay. Oh,
Or like
was
a
this in
backwoods-
Canada?
Yeah, backwoods Canada. More poutine than
Philly cheesesteak.
yeah.
It,
So
it
starts
felt like
off
Ohio, actually. Like it feels a lot like where I live.
like farmland and kind of spread out.
Farmland, the style of trees that are in the woods and whatnot. Like absolutely,
Yeah.
those kind of houses are all over. So that makes sense. I mean, I live an hour and a half drive from Canada, so that makes
Wow,
total
that's
sense.
not far at all.
No, dude. Like, there. I can get to Canada in an hour and a half if I time a flight right. I can drive to Sandusky in an hour, and then it's a 10-minute flight to Canada. Or I go to Detroit in an hour and a half and just cross the bridge, and I'm in Canada.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm real close. Like, there's an island called Put-in Bay in Lake Erie, and when I'm there, there's times where because I have Project Fi as my cell phone service from Google, and it's an international plan. So sometimes I'm connected to probably Rogers. It'll say like, "I welcome to Canada." Like I'm in the U.S., but I'm connected to Canadian cell phones. Hey Ben, thanks for joining, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Give you a follow on Instagram soon too. So okay.
So it starts out with a bang because the door whips open. You're inside the house. The door whips open. A guy runs out. A lady runs out. What turns out to be a father and son duo are chasing these people, and the father shoots the lady in the back. She
With, like, a
falls
rifle.
down. Yeah, a scoped rifle. He goes over. The father goes over, grabs a gas can, hands it to his son. Son starts pouring gas on the lady. Dad lights a cigarette, throws it on her. Whoosh, she's up in flames. That's your introduction to the movie.
Intense.
Yeah.
Like, then it cuts to credits, like the opening credits scroll. Great song.
Yeah.
It feels slightly video gamey. Just
Every part of this movie feels slightly video game.
okay. Right out of the gate, like I was into it. Like this is intense. There's a real cryptic black triangle on the door inside of the house. So clearly, in these types of movies, you do see a theme of a shape quite often, a trope in these kind of movies. So that draws you in. So every time you see a triangle, you wonder what it means and all of that.
And I think that's one of the first shots of the cultists we get. I think one of the cultists is watching her burn.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely correct. But it's a brief shot of the cultists then.
Like maybe 2 or 3 seconds.
And they have like a hood over their face, and they're in like a white gown, but you can't tell if they can see through the scarf or not. It almost looks like they're in like a hijab or something, but their face is all covered and it's white, and the black squares like right over their face, like over their nose and mouth and whatnot. So
yeah, if you like Google image search the Void, I'm sure these cultists are going to pop up.
Very
Like,
creepy.
it's a really notable like costume design. It's really cool. So it then switches to a cop. I think he's a sheriff's deputy. His name is Danny Carter. He's sitting in his car reading a book. It's this is the middle of the night. He's reading a book, and dispatch calls, and he says, I think his shift is about to wrap up, and he's sitting there, and he's like, I'm in the middle of a pursuit, and then the guy that ran from the cabin falls in front of his police car. And he's like, oh, hold on, I think I got a drunk guy. And he goes over, and he's totally, like, you can tell he doesn't see much action, because he's going over, as he's walking over, he's like, oh, hell of a weekend, huh?
Yeah, like not gun drawn or anything. Like, no.
Yeah. He's just bebopping over to him.
Yeah.
And the whole time he's like, man, you're really messed up. And he pulls out his flashlight and shines it on him and sees that he's bleeding. He's like, oh, shit. And he actually starts to take it seriously. So he grabs the guy, he throws him into his squad car, and he drives him to the hospital. And when he gets him to the hospital, there's a lot of really quick introduction. It's they do a little bit of exposition to kind of get you familiar with how the different characters are like related, and not like as in family, but just like there's a man and a wife.
Yeah, how they all know each other, the character premise. Right. Like they have some slightly unnatural conversations that they wouldn't have with one another, because they need to say, hey, I'm this doctor, or I had a kid die, you had a kid die.
Yeah.
To kind of get you in sense. Also noted about the hospital is it's being shut down because it had recently caught on fire. So there's only a couple of staff, and it's really remote. So
a skeleton crew, if you will.
Yeah, but man, nice.
On the graveyard shift.
Oh boy.
But so there's Danny the cop, there's Dr. Powell, who's the old white dude, Allison, who is Danny's wife, Kim, the nurse, who's played by Knives Chow from Scott Pilgrim.
Oh yeah, I thought she looked familiar.
Beverly, who's another nurse, Maggie, who is the pregnant lady, a teenage girl who's pregnant, and her grandfather. And the state trooper
Cliff. Mitchell or something.
Mitchell, yes. Yeah. Mitchell comes in later, but
Cliff irrelevant.
Is the sick guy who's, I mean, he becomes relevant real quick.
Well, yeah.
But so they all get in, and they're all like doing their exposition. We find out that Danny and Allison lost a baby. They find out that Dr. Powell lost his daughter. Kim's hanging out with Cliff and showing him gross pictures and grossing him out. And he's watching Night of the Living Dead because it's Creative Commons, and it's a classic.
Public domain or whatever.
Yeah, public domain. That's what I'm going to say. And as they're talking, the Night of the Living Dead kind of shuts off, like the screen goes static, and that's when you realize that some weird starting to happen. And the guy who collapsed in front of Danny's car, turns out he's a drug addict, and he starts waking up, and but before he starts waking up, they go to check him out, and he has track marks, and Allison says, well, he's no stranger to needles, and Danny goes, he fucking bled on me. Like he's all grossed out.
Yeah, like oh man, am I gonna catch something now?
But he wakes up, he starts freaking out, they sedate him, and as Danny's starting to leave, he walks past a room, and he sees Beverly, the nurse, standing over Cliff, and he's like, Bev, hey, what's going on? You need anything? And as he's standing there, she pulls a pair of scissors out of Cliff's eye.
Yeah,
where she was stabbing him in the face.
This is the first moment where it's like, oh God, it's on.
It started. Like it has already started. And it doesn't quit for the rest of the movie.
And one thing we're going to say a bunch on this, the practical effects and makeup are incredible throughout this entire movie.
Absolutely.
So you see, it looks like scissors coming out of an eye socket, like straight up. It's not implied in any way and looks good. Like, not enjoyable good, but looks authentic.
Right. So Danny sees this and he goes, oh, Bev, what the hell are you doing? and she turns around and her face is all bloody.
Yeah, she's like
And
cut
then-
all the skin off her face.
Yeah, as she steps forward, you realize that's why she doesn't have blood on her. Her face is gone.
Yeah.
And as she's standing there talking, she's like, "This isn't my face," and she's cutting off chunks, like strips of her flesh with these scissors.
Yeah.
This isn't my face. It's all wrong. Can you help me? Can you help me? As she's walking towards him, and she turns the scissors around and lifts it, and he shoots her in the chest, and she falls down dead.
Yeah.
And then that's when he kind of starts to back up, and he's freaking out a little bit. Everybody rushes in, and after he kind of tries to like say what happened, he backs out into the bathroom and he throws up. He's washing his face, and that's when he has the first vision. And the vision is of like this blasted landscape. It's really dark, and the ground is like slate gray, and it turns into like something that looks like a supernova, like the gases that you see, the pillars of creation that you see from the Hubble Space Telescope.
Yeah.
A picture of like a beating heart.
See, now, I
And
didn't immediately envision that this was any sort of foreshadowing at this point. It just looked like horror movie trippy scenes because there was like
Yeah.
rolling skies, so it's like thunderous. It just had like maybe you had a different impression, but I didn't pick up on anything to come based on this. I didn't view this as a vision. I viewed this as him. Well, I guess having a vision, but not that it was really relevant at that time. It didn't click to me that I should have paid close attention to what he was actually envisioning.
Right, just him kind of freaking out from having to shoot because he was calling her Bev, like he knew her really well.
Yeah.
Like Beverly, hey Bev, what's going on, Bev?
Yeah.
So like he just shot her. He just killed someone he knows.
Which, I mean, she charged at him. She lunged at him, but it was one of those things where like he had to think to himself, God, that was maybe a little overreactive because I totally could take a girl with scissors and I just pulled out my gun and shot her. Like it wasn't she was going to shoot him. Like he easily, like you said though, he was a cop that's not real skilled. So like I'm sure that if I charged at you with scissors and you had a gun on you, you would be like, dude, like you just slap it away. You know what I mean? But you're professionally trained in self-defense and whatnot, where he clearly is just like, and they tell us this later, you know, he's trying to live up to his dad's footsteps and stuff. So he's not trained well enough. So it felt like he was freaking out as though he realized he maybe overreacted. That is how I took it.
Yeah. So the vision is so powerful, it kind of knocks him out.
Yeah.
Like his wife and Dr. Powell are waking him up, and she's like, it looks like you just had a seizure. Like, hey, so while I agree he's not technically skilled, but he is a tough bastard because like every time something knocks him down, he gets like right back up.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. He's sloppy. He's not a wimp.
Right. So
Which also plays on the fact that I think that he wouldn't have been that worried about her lunging at him with scissors.
Yeah.
But it plays into the fact that, like, that's what made it real to me that he freaked out because he was like, oh my God, like, I went way overboard. Like, what do I need to do? Like,
right.
That was too far. But you know, he immediately knows when he comes to that he needs to report this. His first thought is, I got to call this in. Yeah. Oh, no, that was right after he did it. He's like, I got to call this in. And then he goes and throws up. So he's still like lucid, and he's not a horrible cop. He's not a bumbling idiot. So I don't want to give that impression. I'm glad you brought that up.
And actually, after you were right, after he wakes up, he's like, I have to call this in. They're like, no, stay down. You just had a seizure. I have to call this in. And they're like, well, there's already a state trooper here, and that's Mitchell. And I have in my notes right here, Mitchell is a prick.
Yes.
Because he comes in and he's like, one of the first things he says is, you know, your dad would be disappointed, basically. I forget how he phrased it, but
yeah, like, I know you want to live up to your dad, but what would he think about what you've done here?
Yeah.
But that's good exposition. That's a good way to move the script and character build. So
yeah, it is. So at this point, he gives his gun to Mitchell, probably as like a
protocol,
like a procedural thing. Yeah, protocol. And he does ask a favor. He's like, hey, will you at least let me call it in? And Mitchell's like, yeah, sure. And so there's actually a string of Silent Hill references, like almost in a row.
Oh, really?
So,
okay.
There might be some spoilers for Silent Hill 2 also. So,
Bring it.
So he goes to call it in, and when he walks over to the phone, there's a radio that's playing static. Because this is where it starts to my screensaver keeps happening. This is where it starts to show you that like reality is bending around this hospital.
Yeah.
And it's actually just cut off the broadcast. Like they aren't in a place where they're receiving that broadcast anymore.
And then he picks up the phone, and it's not working.
So he goes out to his car to call it in.
And he tells
that doesn't
Mitchell.
work either.
He also says, "Hey, Mitchell, the phone's not working. I'm going to the car to try." So it makes sense. Like he does what he's supposed to as a cop. Let the other guy know he's not leaving. This is what he's doing, which I really appreciated. Because it drives me nuts when characters are like, that wouldn't be done. He would have told him he was going outside.
Yeah, it was pretty good attention to detail in the script in that point. Okay, going back to what he had as his vision. At the end, there's you start to see just the faintest outline in the clouds of like an enormous black pyramid.
Yeah.
You start to see that, and that's when he snaps awake. And that's where you start to get the idea of the triangle on the face.
Yep.
So the first Silent Hill reference was the staticky radio, signifying something's going wrong, which is a gameplay mechanic in Silent Hill.
Oh, okay.
After he goes to the car and it doesn't work, he sees one of the cultists for the first time. And he kind of pokes his head out of his door and goes, "Hey." like completely like,
you lost.
This isn't weird. Yeah. And but okay, so the cultist has the triangle on his face, on his head, which is a pyramid head.
Oh, yeah, I even get that.
And he sees one of the things, the pyramid head in Silent Hill 2 represents James's guilt over killing somebody. Danny doesn't see pyramid head until after he shoots Beverly.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Nice. I obviously never would have got that. Even if I played Silent Hill, I don't know if I would have thought about that. Oh, that is...
Right?
And that really ties into as things progress, what you find out the ending and all that. Oh, yeah. Wow. All right.
So he gets out and he's like talking to the person who's just standing there with this like crazy get up on. And he's like, "Hey, what are you doing? What's going on?" Like doing like normal cop like interview kind of stuff. And he hears another Silent Hill reference. He hears a horn, kind of like the siren.
Okay.
In Silent Hill, in the first one, you hear a siren, and that's when not James, Harry goes from kind of normal Silent Hill to like rusted septic chain link Silent Hill.
Okay.
When he hears a siren. So Danny hears this horn, and that's when things really start to kick off also. When he hears the horn, he turns and he sees all, like, the field is full of these cultists.
Yeah,
like,
there's got to be 100 around him.
Yeah, it's like, I assume they're surrounding like the entire hospital. So he's distracted by that, and he turns back, and the one that was beside his car attacks him. And they get into a fight, and he gets stabbed in the shoulder.
With like a Crocodile Dundee, like big ass knife.
Yeah, like 8 inches, 10 inches long knife.
Like,
he takes it.
Beautiful
right
knife, though.
shoulder. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like below the collarbone, like
Mm-hmm.
above the heart, but below the collarbone.
Yeah, and he kicks the guy off and makes it back into the hospital where he passes out and has another vision. That's basically the same thing, just kind of the same imagery of like space, this weird blasted landscape, this dark pyramid. And he gets stitched up by the doctor and his wife. And when he comes to, they're like, "Hey, stay down, don't get up, stay down." And of course, the first thing he does is he stands up. So just lending to him being kind of a badass, just kind of an unskilled badass.
Yeah.
And as that's happening, it goes back to the room where Beverly is on the floor, and it shows that she's like her corpse is starting to grow stuff. Like she has tentacles coming out of her eyes and mouth. And
I
they're
had
just,
to
like, flapping
rewind
around.
that because at first I thought it was a vision. Because it
Oh, yeah.
it didn't to me it looked like I thought he was flashing back to him having something growing out of his face. But then when I rewound it, it showed that it was clearly her, but it was such a close up, and I'm sure there were like physical limits to the costume and stuff and the prosthetics for it, but it wasn't readily apparent to me that it was Bev. Then it dawned on me, like, of course there's things crawling out of her face, and of course that was her, because that's what she had been cutting off and whatnot. And I'm like, oh, okay, so they're calling back to when she had her face cut off. All right, I'm following now. Okay, but I did have to rewind a little bit to be like, wait, who is that?
Yeah. So okay, he jumps up and he's like, "We got to get out of here. There's people all around. I just got stabbed. We got to leave." And as they're talking and like there's kind of chaos happening and people are talking, all of a sudden they hear James, who is the drug addict guy who ran out of the building at the first. He wakes up, and Bev has like completely transformed into like this quadrupedal.
And something that we forgot to mention, Mitchell mentioned that because James was a drug addict, he handcuffed James to the bed. James was freaking out in the hospital, and the doctor and the nurse filled him full of a bunch of sedative to like calm him down and knock him out. So Mitchell handcuffed him, which you do as a cop with like drunk and unruly people. So then that's when James is like, or when the cop, what's his name? Danny. Yeah, so that's when he's like, oh shit, we got to go check on this.
Yeah, so they run in there, and Bev has turned into like this quadrupedal thing,
like the Fly, like the end of the Fly with Jeff Goldblum, like horrible, like gross, slimy, bloody,
monstrosity.
Yeah, Cronenberg kind of like, just grossness.
And they see that, and everybody just kind of freezes, and they're looking at it. And then James is like screaming, like, "Get it off me!" Like, "Hey, help, help!" And Danny runs over and kicks his bed rail enough times to break it, so he can get his cuff off.
Yeah,
and they all run out, and
we'll get his cuff off the rail, not off of James.
Right, correct. So they all run out, and they are like back in the lobby, and they're starting to freak out again, and they're trying to figure out what's going on after they shut the door and trap Beverly in there. And at that point is when the father and son duo shoot their way into the hospital.
Yeah, the super crazy dudes that we think at this point, I think that they are like Jigsaw, like they're a murdering duo.
Right.
Like we have no answers about what's going on. And also up to this point, I had no idea that we were watching a monster movie. I thought we were watching like a psychopath movie. I had no idea. So I wasn't even 100% sure that the whole Bev thing, it wasn't until they clearly got James out of the bed that I realized, like, no, this monster is actually there.
Yeah.
This is not a hallucination. There's a monster ready to get everybody. And the father and son like bust in with the rifle and
so they shoot some cult members and get inside the hospital because they're trying to get to James, the drug addict guy. They're still chasing him. And at this point, he is loose. And when he got loose, he picked up a scalpel from the ground. And the first thing he does is he grabs a pregnant teenager and is holding her hostage. And the father and son duo is trying to kill him. And he's holding them back. And Dr. Powell comes up and he's like, "Hey, dude, just calm down. You don't want to do this. This is a mistake. Come here, calm down." And as he gets closer to him, James stabs him in the throat. And Dr. Powell's starting to bleed all over the place. And Grandpa grabs the scalpel, knocks the dude out. They handcuff him to the rail. Then
Well, then
they're trying to
then Danny
help Dr.
like
Powell.
yeah they try to attend to Dr. Powell while Danny's trying to talk the father and son into like going on a rampage to kill everybody.
Yeah, he's trying to keep the peace, and in the commotion, like things are about to come to a head, and all of a sudden Mitchell gets grabbed from behind by Beverly.
Yeah,
or what used to be Beverly.
yeah.
And he gets dragged out down the hallway, and then they chase after. And when they find him, I wrote, Mitchell gets tentacle porn to death. by Bev. Like
he was
has,
hentai.
like, yeah, the monster takes tentacles from its face, and it goes like in his eyes and mouth.
Yeah.
So it's like pouring tentacles into his body.
Okay, so now here's where I'm starting to go. I really appreciate how good this looks. I don't like these kind of movies. Like, this is where I'm starting to be like, okay, I'm a wimp with gore, and this is where it started to get like super gory.
Yeah.
So okay.
So
as a newbie.
Yeah. As another callback to a video game. Basically every video game, Bev grows a weak point out of the back of her back.
Oh yeah.
Like her back opens up and like this
white like pus sac thing almost like
a brain.
Yeah.
Popping up out of and it of course the guy with the rifle shoots it and it does like massive damage. I feel like it does like a critical hit on the thing, right? Because it becomes far less lethal. Because Danny chases after Mitchell, and as he's trying to hit the thing, it slaps him back with a tentacle, and he hits the thing, and it's kind of dazed. And that's when father and son show up, and the thing pops out, and then they both grab axes after they shoot the weak point, and they're just axing the hell out of this thing,
like the fire axes that would be like for emergencies. Like they don't just
they
like
both grab
have
one.
Yeah.
And they just start axing this thing.
And again, this creature, the prosthetics are unbelievable. It looks gross and slimy. It doesn't look like Return of the Living Dead, like hilarious. Yeah, there's a real good grossness to it.
And they're just going to town on this thing, chopping it up. At one point, the father stops chopping up the monster and starts chopping off Mitchell's head.
Yeah.
That still has tentacles coming out of it. Because he wants to kill him before he spawns like tentacle monsters. So they axe that thing to death, and they go back to the lobby where Dr. Powell was being treated, and he's dead.
Yeah.
They're covering him up. This kind of goes into more exposition where they're talking. The father and son just really want to kill James, the druggie. They end up moving back further into the lobby where they can sit Maggie down because she's freaking out and starting to have trouble with the baby. Grandpa's there, Knives Chow is there, Kim.
Yeah, and this is when the teenage girl's like really fully into labor now.
Yeah, like she's starting
to
feel it, and they Allison, the wife, says like, "Hey, I need to get her supplies. I need to go to the supply closet," and Danny's like, "Okay. We can do that, but I need you to chill out. I need to go get my shotgun from my squad car." And he and father and son go out to get the shotgun. And
now it's worth noting the motivation to get it is because the rifle is out of bullets.
Right.
So they need another firearm.
Yeah, they need another firearm. And he says, Danny is talking to Allison. He says, "Hey, don't go until I get back." And then he goes out to the car. And of course, she is being greatly affected by the fact that she lost a baby like years prior or before the start of the movie.
Yeah, relatively. It feels fresh. So the last thing she wants to do is have this woman die in childbirth or have the baby die. Like, to her, that's the ultimate motivation here. She's not as scared of the monsters and all that stuff.
Right. So she goes off by herself, despite the fact that she promised her husband, and that's why it doesn't go well for her. Don't break your promises. Don't break your promises. If your husband tells you to stay put, wait until he gets back. Actually, in the lobby, I made a note. The father from the father-son duo drops a baby shoe, a bloody baby shoe,
Oh yeah,
when they're like messing with stuff and looking at their supplies, and he picks it up and puts it in his pocket. So you start to see what his motivations are.
yeah.
So they go outside to get the shotgun, and one thing, did that happen yet? At one point, they're talking about the Beverly monster, and they put it on a gurney and shove it outside on fire.
Okay.
And I'm bringing that up because when they go to get the shotgun, there's no gurney there, and the car is like way further away.
Yeah, I thought
So
that was
I don't think that's a continuity error. I think it's just showing the warping of the reality.
okay.
around them.
That makes sense.
Like all of a sudden that, because there's the father and son car, which is in a shot later, is not there either.
Yeah. Okay.
So it shows that like the car has moved like 50 feet. Like it is
At
well
least
away from
like it's a 7 iron away now. It's like far away.
So they go out, and when they go to get the shotgun, they look up and they are surrounded by the cultists. It's kind of a tense situation where he's trying to get it unlocked and get it out, and as he gets it out, they start getting attacked. So he shoots one of the things, and they all run back in. And when they run back in, that's when they realize that Allie is gone. And right before they get in, they show Allie in the med supply room, and she's grabbing stuff, and she goes down to like pick something up, and there's somebody behind her.
Well, it's the first jump scare really, and it's like 2 frames of clearly the doctor, like because he's in the white coat, and you see him in the doorway, like typical horror movie trope. But I wasn't expecting it, so it totally got me. But then like okay, he's fucking alive. What's going on? And she's boned, and then
Right.
And then Danny goes to look for her and finds the med supplies like outside of the room, but she's nowhere to be found at this point.
Yeah.
And he knows like something's up. So then like, does he keep like? So he keeps marching on because then they cut back to the girl's in full on labor now, and like the grandpa heard Allie, so he knows that the daughter or his granddaughter and the baby need to be operated on now. And Knives' character has been, Kim's her name, but Knives is more fun.
Yeah.
She's been lazy and not giving a shit the whole time, so they've developed her character to be a slacker, and now she's thrust into having to perform a C-section.
Yeah.
Like without Allie being back or not. Is this when the group totally like splits? Because isn't this when the father and son don't trust Danny to be up by himself?
They find the supplies and they bring them back to the lobby. They throw them at her, say, "Hey, we got to go find Allie." They give her a radio.
That's right. They give her the radio. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
And while they were at the police car, the son grabbed a bunch of flares, road flares.
That's right. That's what he did in the trunk. He got ammo and flares while Danny got the shotgun.
Yeah. And when they were in the med supply closet, the father grabbed all of the isopropyl alcohol, like 6 or 7 huge containers of the big bottles of the alcohol.
Yeah.
So they can make fire now.
Video games.
Yes, right. I got on my notes, Allison is a stupid idiot that breaks her promise and pays for it.
That's the thing. She broke the promise. Like, it would have been one thing if she just was like, I'm not going to listen to you, and then forces her way out of it. But it was annoying that I understand it. She clearly knows her husband. The only way that she could get him to go do what he needed to do so that she could go do what she wanted to do was to lie to him. And she paid the price for that.
Yep. So as they are making their way trying to find Allison, they get to Powell's office, Dr. Powell's office, and that's where they find evidence of what is actually going on. The dad is looking through his drawers and he finds a book that has like clear research on like basically eldritch gods and like it looks like summoning ritual stuff and
triangles. Like it. While they don't explain it, it shows that that the character now has more insight on the triangles. They find a little safe box with Polaroids that show the documentation that the doctor's been doing.
Yeah, it's so well done because you see the pictures and you can see it looks like it's definitely skin and it looks like people having like the first pictures that you see, it looks like there are people having sex.
Yeah, I thought so too. I was like, oh, nudity? No, wait, there's no nudity here.
Yeah, it's like nudity but without nudity.
Yeah.
And it's clearly skin, and as he goes by, it's like it looks like rotten skin maybe, or like one of those creatures that he pictured or photographed. And it ends on one of the cult members. So at this point, you see Dr. Powell is like at least in on this somehow.
Yeah. And
as he's going through the evidence, they get a call from the morgue, and it's Dr. Powell. And Danny is
like the
talking
phone
to Dr.
now,
Powell.
on the phone, like in the phone now, it's working.
Yeah, I think because it's inside.
Well, exactly. But I mean, it's a nice callback to, like, it helps establish the world and what's happening now. So clearly he's like more than just a pawn because he can make these phone calls now.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay. So maybe he's the one that's in charge. Like that's the first time I started to realize, ooh, okay, he wasn't some bystander.
So yeah, he's talking and he starts talking about how he's defeated death and like he can give him whatever he wants, and he has Allison. He figures out he has Allison, and he sees that he's in the morgue, and that's when they all head down there.
Yeah.
So they go to find Allison, and that's when it. Actually, before they go down, that's when they go back and get James, the drug addict, and they actually kind of interrogate him a little bit.
Oh, that's right, to find out what he knows, and that was an intense scene.
Yeah,
the way that like they have a hammer and they're gonna start smacking his fingers off.
Yeah, he is handcuffed to like the handicap rail.
Yeah,
like the rail that old people would use.
Yeah, the assistant. Yeah,
that they would use to like walk down the hallway.
Yeah,
he's handcuffed to that, and they take his finger and they lay it across the rail, and they're holding it there, and they're gonna like smack his finger with his claw hammer to break it. And he says they do the interrogation scene, and he says the farmhouse was a church. They called it a church, and they did drugs and they watched them have sex, and eventually it turned into like sacrifices, and they made them watch them perform sacrifices.
Yeah.
And the father and son, well, the son doesn't say anything because he was injured in the throat and he can't talk. He doesn't say anything in the whole
movie. Yeah.
But the dad said that they found bodies all throughout the basement. So they've been doing this for a hot minute, like killing people. And that's after that they start going downstairs. And when they start going downstairs is when they really start to do the reality shifting stuff.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, like you had mentioned, Knives has Danny's walkie-talkie, so they can communicate. And she's trying to, as an employee of the hospital, she's trying to guide them where they need to go. And Danny, the walkie-talkie starts cutting out, and Danny's like, "Okay, we're going down the stairs," and she's like, "There are no stairs." So that's the clear as. Like the director's like, hey, if you haven't figured it out by now, like reality is different because there's now a stairwell that is physically there that wasn't, before all of this started happening.
So like it shouldn't exist.
No, so this is like they start stepping into, like, doesn't the dad say we are in hell at one point? Like he knows like this is like, is that or are we good on the?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
So yeah, that's like I got in my notes. Shit gets real.
Yeah.
Sub basement equals Silent Hill.
And this, I don't think we can really describe. This is where, like, I don't know how much we can describe because you really got to see downstairs here. But, you know, there's different rooms. All of a sudden, at one point, though, as they're kind of navigating their way through, it's the same basement that was in the house. So the reality of the house was also warped in the same way. So I thought that was, if not, it implied that to me. I thought that James had made a comment like that.
Yeah.
But this is where you start to see.
I've seen this place before.
Yeah. And you've seen all, like, now you start to see all these monsters around. Just, like, horrific, gross, deformed people. It's almost like the clones in, like, Alien 3, like all the Ripley clones that are all screwed up and stuff. Like, it's all this, like, gross things. Now, another video game reference, Voldo from Soul Calibur is definitely one of the evil guys without the blades on his hand.
Yeah.
Like, there was just an upside down, backwards walking, like, monster coming at. Because the monsters start coming after him now.
Yeah.
Like, it's survival time right at this point.
At one point, slightly before that, there's Dr. Powell's talking to Allison. He's basically kind of monologuing about basically what's going on.
Yeah.
And he says that he's been experimenting on people, trying to keep people alive, and some of those experiments are in the basement. They were what caused the fire.
Yes, because they're trying to kill themselves, and he won't let them die.
Yeah. And it's to give you the first monster they show you to give you an idea of what they're up against is they kind of move like zombies, but this thing it's this corpse and it's driving its head into this pole.
Yeah.
Trying to kill itself.
Yeah.
It's trying to kill itself so hard. And it's going right through its brain. So it's like, there's no, I'm just going to shoot this thing in the brain and it's going to die. Like, they are not going to die.
Yeah.
And they're all coming after you.
But it seems like they're aware that fire can get it done at this point.
Yeah, so they do kind of start trying to fight back a bit. And at this point, the father and dad duo starts kind of like gripping at his head and he starts kind of hallucinating.
Yeah.
And James yells, he's in his head. He's in his head. Kind of starting to show that Dr. Powell's starting to affect him. And he's starting to hallucinate a little bit. And they're all fighting. And they actually get kind of split up. And at this point, they go back upstairs to Knives trying to do the C-section. And
the camera, not the group.
Right. Correct. The next scene goes upstairs. And she's freaking out, and the grandfather's trying to like calm her down and say, hey, you got to do this or she's going to die. And all of a sudden, Maggie slits his throat.
Yeah.
And the grandpa dies. And that's when she says, like, hey, this is Dr. Powell's baby. I'm so lucky. I'm going to go down and see him. So after she goes downstairs, Voldo kills James. Like, he tries to attack Danny, I think he's just starting to freak out. He like jumps on his back.
Yeah.
And he wrestles him off, and Voldo grabs hold of James and beats his head into the ground.
He just started smacking. Awesome. Yeah. Just like brutally, like.
Just like face first into the ground. Just boom, 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 boom. And Danny breaks off and finds his wife. And at first, she's normal. And after he talks for a while with her, he kisses her hand and it transitions and she is already dead. And she's like this massive tentacles.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Powell impregnated her with something and it burst from her. And it's like the whole room is like molded and like gooey.
But it was but it was like he was hallucinating that she was there and that like that wasn't real. Like what was,
right.
Well, you know, I guess it depends how you determine it, but it was like he couldn't see that she was already like a tentacle monster. And,
right.
And they tricked the audience with that trick too.
But then I was watching it.
Of course his hand did like have dust in it.
Yeah.
So like maybe she was there in a way.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I guess it's supposed to be a mind screw because it's almost like she was normal and he just killed her with an axe because he was hallucinating.
I was wondering about that. Yeah, because he knew that lopping a head off worked for Mitchell.
Yeah.
And so they show him deciding whether, was he hallucinating? I had that thought. Was he hallucinating that she was a tentacle monster and Powell wanted him to kill her? Or was she a tentacle monster and he just knew because of hallucination where to lop her head off?
Yeah, very strange. You don't know if he put her out of her misery or if he murdered her with an axe.
Yeah. Which actually quite effective.
Yeah. At around this point, the father and son are having like this super like reality bending. It's not a hallucination. Like they are in their house, and it shows that what happened was the father was away, and I don't know. I'm not really. It doesn't get specific enough to tell you what the son was doing, but apparently the cultists came in and killed the mother and the baby of the family while the son was there and the father was away.
Yeah, and the father was upset that the son wasn't able to stop it, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And is this when the father then looks like he snaps and is trying to kill his son now?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's like trying to strangle him with the shotgun, like pushing it on his
Did you notice one shot, though? The mom holding the baby was behind the son, and in the next shot, she wasn't?
Yeah.
Like, again, I'd love to hear an in-depth analysis by somebody that like really picks the movie apart to determine, I don't know what the true purpose of that was. It seemed like a reminder, like at a shallow level, it was like, hey, he's now seeing, the dad seeing the son that let the woman and child die behind him. Like that's the whole family he's seeing. And the only one that's really there is his son. He wants revenge on that.
Yeah. And he breaks the spell by lighting a flare and burning his dad.
Yeah.
And he gets the shotgun and kind of keeps him at bay. After Dan kills Allie, he gets, I wrote, transports to final boss room.
It really is like, that's exactly what it was.
And he's walking up and he's having a dialogue with Dr. Powell, and they're talking about like, Danny says, like, I think you're a monster who thinks he's God. And he's talking about, he says, like, there are older things than that, older than time.
Yeah, older
and
than
they bless
God.
me.
Yeah.
And he comes out and he's like this big, like, transformed, like, black monster guy.
But still humanoid, where the rest of these people have not been a humanoid. He still is, yeah. Almost looks like an Alex Gray, like, not to mention Tool again, but like almost like something you'd see, like a less colorful Tool creature from like the latter Alice era.
Yeah, and so Danny's walking up as they're talking, and
when the dialogue first started, when he's in like his final form, Richard, did you have a lip sync issue? There was a slight air, I thought, in the voiceover when he first started, but my Bluetooth speaker with my Chromebook sometimes has that. So I turned it off and just went through the native speakers, and I never have a sync issue. And it happened again, but then the next scene was perfectly fine, even with the Bluetooth speaker. So I'm wondering if there was an editing error there.
Yeah, because it's definitely a different actor.
Yeah.
But the guy who played Dr. Powell is doing the ADR.
Yeah, it's all voiceover. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was just, I watched the making of featurette.
Oh, okay.
And it was definitely a kind of troubled production that kind of ended up rushing. So it's definitely like
that's an easy mistake to make. I've done that in like a freaking review I've done for like headphones on the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So as they're talking to each other, so this final boss room is like this weird concrete room. And it has a big triangle on the wall that is like, it's a seam in the wall, like it's starting to open.
Yeah.
And Danny's approaching it, talking, and they're having this conversation, and it's interrupted by Maggie, the pregnant teenager, stabbing Danny in the back.
Yeah. With one of those big old honking knives that the cultists had.
Yeah. So he's got like 8 inches of blade in his back. He falls over, and Maggie goes up to Dr. Powell and kneels before him, and she said, like, "Bless my baby." He touches her. He asks for his dead daughter to be put into her, and she immediately goes into labor. But by labor, I mean she's like split in half,
Yeah.
and blood like covers her from the face down, and this like hulking, again, quadrupedal monstrosity comes out of her.
Enormous. Like 4 Shaquille O'Neals, like hunched over, like
Yeah.
gigantic monster.
Big enough that the cultists kind of lay down in front of it, and it steps on their head and crushes their head.
Yeah.
It's so heavy.
Yeah.
So that's, and that the baby leaves the room and goes after the father and son. And the father and son are fighting it. The dad starts getting tentacled in the stomach by it, and he pours the rubbing alcohol all over himself, and the son lights him on fire with a flare.
Yeah. It wasn't easy for the son to
And-
do. Like the dad was asking for it. Like, because the dad
Yeah.
knew this was the only way to get this thing.
Yeah.
And it was a good callback because they shot it in the face with the shotgun, and it opened the tentacles that allowed those were the tentacles that
yeah.
ultimately got into the dad then. So
Yeah.
like you said earlier, where the one was like impaling its brain and it wasn't killing it, like it wanted to do that. This showed again that wasn't, you can't shoot it in the face and kill it like any of these
Yeah.
things.
So as they're fighting that, the son gets away, and he starts booking it, and Danny, of course, gets up again with a knife in his back after being stabbed, and
Because he is
because he's tough.
He's tough.
He's tough as hell.
yeah.
And he hits Dr. Powell in the shoulder with the axe, and he's not even really affected by it.
No.
He grabs Danny by the throat, and he's talking about how he can give him all this stuff. He can give him Allison back. And Danny's kind of playing along for a second, kind of half unconscious, kind of trying to get his bearings. And he eventually gathers his strength and kind of like tackles Dr.
Well,
Powell.
yeah, like
into
he's
the
like, all you have to
portal.
do is like bow to me, or like say you believe in me, or something like that. You know, some
Yeah,
sort of
or
cultist type. Die for me, yeah. And Danny's basically, I don't have to, or I'm not going to.
Yeah.
And then turns into Lawrence Taylor and throws him through that. Throws him through the big hole, the big triangle hole that's opened up.
Yeah.
And this is my favorite part though, is what's happening with the son while this is going on.
Yeah. Because after he gets pushed through the portal, I think it becomes clear that Dr. Powell was the link between whatever he was getting in contact with and the real world.
Yeah.
Because after he goes through the portal closes, and the like nightmare hellscape that they're in starts to disappear. And the baby isn't dead after it was set on fire, and it's chasing the son. And as they're running, the hell portal basically just starts shutting, like one of those
Like Star
Like-
Wars trash compactor. Like the walls
Exactly.
are like caving in, and the son's
Exactly.
booking it up the stairs, and super like Indiana Jones style. You know, he gets out right as the wall smacks together
yeah.
and dives
And it-
into the the main hospital hallway.
Yeah.
So then you know that the entire thing like caved in on the monster and the basement's gone or whatever. And I love the shot of when the son like looks back up and it's a plain old hospital wall. It's like OBGYN like that way, and like, you know, maternity to the left. It shows like when Knives was like, there's no stairs there, because there's no stairs there.
Yeah.
Which it kind of doesn't make a lot of, like, it should have been more like a instant snap. Like, I doubt cinematography wise, like, it's very fun to have the walls like cave in. But come on, it just would have like,
Just blinked
it'd
out
have
of
been, yeah,
existence.
blinked out, yeah. But it was very fun the way that was done.
So yeah, the son makes it out. He's the only one who went down there that makes it out. And he finds Knives, and they are like, she's like, "Is it over?" And he's saying, "Yeah." And then
Did he say that or just nod?
He just nodded.
Okay, I was going to say
He didn't actually say it.
Yeah.
He was nodding. And it's an outside shot, and it shows the car that they drove up in. It shows the gurney and the burnt thing like sitting on the ground, and it shows the car like 6 feet away from the door.
Which, yeah, so reality is back to where it was. Yeah.
And after that, it switches and it shows the burnt landscape, like the desert landscape and the clouds.
Yeah, that first scene that you were talking about when Danny had that first like hallucination after killing Bev. Yeah.
And it shows Dan and Allison standing on this like scorched earth, and they look up and the pyramid is like starting to come through the clouds.
Yeah.
And then it goes to credits.
Yeah. And I mean, it was very well done. I don't like gory stuff, but it was a really well done movie. The fact that there was very little CGI and green screening at all, it was really amazing. I felt like they showed a lot of monsters without showing too much. They did the shaky cam stuff really well. It was appropriate when it was needed. They used some really creative angles as well. Like it wasn't all the same type of shot over and over again. Like it had a really, it's a horror movie, so it's gonna have a bit of an indie vibe to it, but it felt really well shot. And other than the one vocal hiccup, I thought it was really well edited too.
Absolutely, yeah.
One nice thing that we forgot to mention was, so when Bev was kind of cutting her face off, the doctor was also cutting his face off during the exposition.
Oh yeah,
which just added to the creepy level. Just, not that he was some sort of a mastermind. Like he himself was also bought in on this. Hey, we're going to turn into like a Cronenberg monster or whatever.
Yeah.
So I won't ever watch it again, but I will. But I will recommend it to people that like horror movies. What about you? Would you recommend it? Did you enjoy the movie?
I loved it even more this time than the first 2 times I saw it.
Okay, so I'm glad that it wasn't a surprise for you, that you knew that you already picked one that you would like, because we're eventually going to watch one that is a stinker that you haven't seen yet.
Yeah, probably we have to.
It has to. It's a horror movies. Like there's a bunch of stinkers in there. But I can see why this was on that Netflix list, like horror movies on Netflix that you should watch. Like now that I'm done with it and we've talked about it, like I really did enjoy the movie, but while watching it, man, it made me uncomfortable. Like it grossed me out. So yeah, what do you, any other final thoughts about the movie? We both recommend it.
Yeah. If you like Silent Hill or The Thing or both, I recommend it for you. I watched it. I heard buzz about it, and I watched it on, I think, like Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And like I immediately bought it. And
oh yeah. Okay.
It was part of my Halloween-a-thon last year.
I told my brother that we were doing this when I went to go visit, and he's like, "Ooh, I liked that."
Sweet.
So that's three votes for it. So do you have one in mind next that you'd like to do?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Let's do Cabin in the Woods. I've been meaning to watch that for a long time. I will pay the $3 to rent it. This is an 80s ass horror movie. Like this is an R-rated 80s scare you as a kid movie. And I know that Cabin in the Woods has some different. It's different, so I want to try something different. That's all I know about it.
It is. I would describe it as a horror movie made by horror movie fans for horror movie fans.
Cabin in the Woods or The Void?
Cabin in the Woods.
Okay, cool. Then I'm interested to watch that. And then we'll figure out an appropriate time to do the thing. You'll let me know.
Okay.
But keep that in mind when you want something special coming up. If we do it for Halloween or
maybe in October.
Yeah, maybe in October or something like that. Like if there's some that you know that I need to watch that I haven't, that I think that's an excellent one for that. So, well, that's all I have to say about it. I know we spoiled the entire thing, but hopefully if you've seen it, you've enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
I enjoyed talking about it.
Yeah,
it's
it was
fun.
great. Let us
cool.
know if you watched with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you thought.
Yeah, if there's things that we missed. And we will mention at next episode, because I would imagine a decent amount of people skipped out. This is the kind of thing that is fun to go back and listen to. I've told you that I will not watch certain Chris Stuckman reviews, but after I see a movie, then I'll go watch it.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it this time because I didn't want my opinions to be like not my own going into this conversation. I didn't want like things to be pointed out because you pointed out a bunch of stuff I missed, and I'd rather have you do it than like a reviewer online.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, next time it'll be Cabin in the Woods. We'll do that at the end of August, beginning of September. So you have a month. Rewatch it if you've already seen it. But yeah, any final thoughts, Dustin?
Horror movies are great. Oh, we are one phase away. Like we are in back to school phase. The next phase,
Halloween.
phase.
Halloween. I think it was you that had somebody that was like, I think it was you. I was looking through our Classic Elite Facebook today, and I think you put something like, even if you're not into Halloween, you need to be grateful for it because it's the last thing holding back the cancer of Christmas, from taking over the whole year. I was like, yeah, that's funny. That's well done, internet. Great comment. So, and by the cancer of Christmas, we mean like Christmas marketing.
Right.
Like, going into CVS November 11th, and I'm hearing like, fa la 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 la. Like, come on.
Yeah,
Get out of here with that.
If not for Halloween, Christmas would start
in July. It really would be July to July would be Christmas.
Halloween is the bulwark against which Christmas.
That's right.
Itself.
Oh, that's another one that I would like to add eventually is The Witch, the one that's spelled with 2 V's.
Okay.
Just because, obviously, Hereditary, when that comes out on Blu-ray, we're doing that one.
Mm-hmm.
But Michael Huber from Easy Allies, he's a big horror movie guy, and he loved The Witch. And was it Hereditary and The Witch are the same director?
Yes.
Okay, I was going to say, I knew there was a combination. There was somewhere where the Hereditary person did another one that he raved about, and he raved about The Witch, or whatever. So,
cool. Something cool. I haven't seen The Witch, so I'll see.
Oh, that's a good one for us to have a, that I will really enjoy those where that'll be you as the expert and me as the novice. Those will be fun conversations.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we got to make sure that we're doing Cabin in the Woods next. And then also Witch. I got caps lock on. I apologize, Dustin. You're not going to like seeing that. We'll add The Thing. And also, yeah. So we got those for now. If you have recommendations, please send them in. It's fun. Like it's pushing me to get out of my comfort zone, and that's never a bad thing to do. So, all right, everyone. Well, that's going to be it for the episode. Thank you very much for listening. We still did it in 2 hours and 40 minutes. Not bad. No, we had a good normal episode, and I enjoyed this discussion. So, I want to thank Ben Landis very much for letting us use this song Through the Forest. Cubby's Tidal Wave is the outro song that you'll hear in the audio version. And then our RSS feed has all of our podcasts, or the last 20 episodes. If you want the entire archive, you can go to our website, classicleet.com. Otherwise, if you just want to catch on some of our most recent stuff, you can get our podcast on Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, or Google Play. Stitcher, SoundCloud. Also, thumbs up to any of you listening on Podcast Addict. We are 65 away from 1,000 subscribers on that app. That's really, yeah.
All right.
Fucking surprising to me. So thank you to anybody that is a podcast app listener, especially. And our social media, our name is Classic L337. So that's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, all that fun stuff. And also, if you'd like to send us an email for any reason, send that to classicleet@gmail.com. That's going to be it for the show. So everyone, thank you very much for listening to episode 278 of the Classic Elite Podcast, and we will see you next week for episode 279.
Boosh.